Welcome to the April 2024 Topanga Town Council public meeting. We are so grateful to everyone who made the time tonight to come and to work with us as we managed our way through these tech challenges, but we have managed it and we are now at a capacity of up to 1,000. So that should enable everybody who wants to come to attend. That said, please know that it is being recorded and we are posting this video tomorrow on the One Topanga website so that people who want to see it, who weren't able to attend or who want to review something can. We will send that link out tomorrow. Okay, so let me start by giving you an overview of where we are now and what the town council has been up to with respect to this closure, and then we will turn it over to the agenda. Since the last town council meeting on March 20th, our board members have convened or participated in over 20 meetings dedicated to easing the burden caused by the road closure, especially for our local small businesses, our school community, and our commuters. Our hardworking board members include Stacy Sledge, Dr. Elisa Landhill, Roger Pugliese, Jaspreet Katrib, and Tam Taylor. Together, we have pushed for many things, including more information. We also pushed for that signal at Tuna and PCH fiercely until it was installed. We brainstormed with the Topanga Chamber of Commerce and the county's Office of Economic Development for ways we might be able to support small businesses with grants and special services until TCB reopens. We now, at this time, urge our state leaders to look for additional means of support for our small businesses and school community, whether that's through a disaster preparedness grant, a disaster declaration, or whether that's through an emergency budget line or some sort of discretionary funding. A lot of our businesses and schools need more funding to adapt to this closure, and they need that money now. For the school community, they too need supportive help of all kinds, especially for additional transportation options and hybrid learning programs. Parents and students are still struggling in spite of the signal. It's helped, but it has not solved all or even the majority of their problems. They need more help. At the end of the day, three things are crystal clear to me. One, we need more actionable information from CalTrans as soon as we can get it. And I would urge them to consider releasing information, even if it's not perfect or complete, so that people have the ability to plan and to be able to regain some sort of semblance of control over their lives. Two, we need more support from our elected officials, including financial support, logistical support, and moral support. The county has gamely stepped up. I know our state partners are ready to step in. Please do so. We need all the help we can get. Third, I would say we really, really need TCB to be reopened with a level of urgency and additional resources deployed as soon as humanly possible. Whatever it takes, we need to do it yesterday. Before turning to the fire department to go over our emergency evacuation protocol, we do have one very special announcement that I would like Elisa to make about an upcoming event in the community. It's critical that you all know about this very important event that has been challenged by the road closure. Elisa?
So I understand we are together looking at adversity, which is one of the things that brings our community together. I just want to share, we are pushing forward with our 5th annual Butterfly Day event, which is a town council sponsored event. And this is an opportunity for us to come together with the whole community. It's an all-day music festival, activities for children, live butterflies. We will have live raptors. This year we have Sonic Butterfly, which does a full open air 60-foot stringed instrument. It's going to be a really beautiful day, and all the profits of the event are towards promoting environmental education and advocacy for our pollinators. So butterflyday.org, I'll put in the chat. Please come, please buy tickets and join us. It's important we stay unified and hopeful and feel some sense of agency in hard times. I hope we'll.
I second that.
Thank you, Roger.
Yay!
And before we move on, I just want to say, Instead of raising hands in this meeting, as we often would, I'm asking everybody to please put all of your questions into the chat. And in the chat, let us know whether you'd like one of the town council members to read your question, or if you would like to share your own question. And please indicate to whom you'd like to direct the question. I will be monitoring the chat. We will record the chat. Anything we're not able to get to today, we will save it all. We will share it all with CalTrans. So thank you so much for being here and for participating.
I want to just say one thing. I just saw a flash on my screen saying that Nancy Frawley is involved. She's somewhere in this in this 12 pages of people. So, and Nancy, for those that don't know, is Assembly Member Jackie Irwin's person. So hopefully she's on now as well. Carrie, back to you.
Yes.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
great. So currently I have no video, so I'm going to go into Stacy's office. Give me 1 second.
While she's doing that, I just would like to encourage everybody, please go ahead and start putting questions and concerns you have into the chat. I think there will be a lot of overlap with many of the shared concerns that we have, and we really want to do our best to get to as many people as we can this evening. Thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah, Lisa, that may or may not work, but I guess we should try that. But
Okay. All right.
raising hands, people may want to do that as well.
They can, but we'll have to prioritize the chat. Okay, let's now make sure that our fire department personnel are here. Do we have Chief Smith and Megan Courier? All right, let's go ahead and make sure that they are given co-host permission.
They
I-
are. They should be good.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep,
Awesome.
I'm here.
Yay, and is Megan here as well?
He is.
All right.
here.
Yay. Okay. So you guys are a hot topic this evening. Really eager to get the latest information on how emergency evacuation protocols are being adapted in light of the fact that one of our main evacuation routes is now closed at the southern end. What does the fire department want people to know? And is there a memo that is being worked on that people can refer to, God forbid, a fire erupts?
Okay, so first I'll start and it says unable to start my video because the host has stopped it. So I want you
I had
to,
the same thing, Drew. I think it's some sort of a technical glitch, but they're working on it. They're working on it. In the meantime, we can hear you loud. and
oh, okay, great. So
Can you try that again, please, Drew?
I can do whatever you like. Yeah.
Go ahead, Drew. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So anyhow, I'm here and I'm smiling. So let's talk about evacuations. Yes, there is some significant concerns, but your fire department and your Lost Hill Sheriff Station are not responding to this or reacting to us. This is a plan that we have in place for these type of things. So our appropriate protocols, as you want to call, is we have a book that we go by. So we know that we have some challenges because of Topanga Canyon Boulevard being closed south of Fire Station 69. Let's just use that for a landmark. So one thing that we are doing proactively, or quite a few things we're doing proactively, but one of those is we're installing large steel containers at Fire Station 69 that is going to have barricade equipment, cones. So your law enforcement, once we give an evacuation order, and remember, evacuation orders are all based upon time. So we have to think about those elements that I'll go into in a moment. So with that, that'll the CHP help facilitate a traffic route. So remember, Topanga Canyon Boulevard being closed, we may have impacts south of Fire Station 69 that it would be unviable anyway for a point in time. So the traffic flow is all based upon the nature of the emergency. And if we're talking wildfire, it's route of travel. Then I'll talk to time. Remember, an evacuation order is time, and we need that reflex time to put that evacuation order in place so we can get people who practice. And I thank the Topanga community for all the drills we've done for the last 20 years on identifying what an evacuation component looks like. So that also that discipline upon our people that have lived in the canyon for a long time and also our newcomers, the information that we're going to share is going to be all on the platforms that we all share that Megan will get out on best practice. And one of those will be the reintroduction or the just the component of what an evacuation order looks like. That's when we have time. We have designated we want an evacuation order to happen. And that is when law enforcement comes up with the traffic plan in a unified approach with your fire, because we're in unified command. So the sheriffs are not doing one thing, CHP is not doing one thing, CalTrans isn't, we're not working in silos, so we have a unified command component. So there is a unified messaging on clear direction of how we're going to perform in an evacuation order. An evacuation order, once again, is based upon time. If we have a warning, that means that an evacuation order may be implemented or may be relaxed. So if we're in a warning, I highly suggest that you say, hey, I don't want time to get away from me. I have plenty of time to plan what I'm going to do. Even though we're in a warning, they're not saying it's an order. I don't have to leave, but a warning's good enough for me. And I'm going to go out of the canyon to a safer location until whatever the nature of the emergency is relaxes. And then the final component that you know is also most paramount on time is the shelter in place component. Shelter in place is when we don't have time to get people out in an organized fashion as possible, that we need to send fire trucks, we need to send aircraft to priority places, because it could be a highly unattainable position for people to navigate a road system during the day, which can, as we know that have lived in the canyon, lived through fires, it can look like midnight at 2 in the afternoon because of smoke and the density of that. And with that comes visibility challenges. Your cars cannot perform properly. You have limited sight when you're navigating those cars. You're not going to respond the same way as you would with your critical thinking because of potential carbon monoxide and smoke introduction into yourself. There's a lot of challenges with that. I know it doesn't sound fun to shelter in place. It's not going to be. But when you have your home, you know the makeup of your home, and you leave that home when we ask people to shelter in place, now you're taking a risk of the unknown. Your home is a known. Navigating a road system with all those other challenges that we just talked about, that could be a significantly worse scenario that you can put yourself in with limited options. So just to be clear, the way that we do evacuations, and we'll talk wildfire centric, we know the road systems. We have to look at the best traffic plan to allow people to leave the canyon, limit anybody to come in except for somebody or your resources that need to be there for the public safety mission and life safety mission and combating the fire, or sending resources to those locations where we know that we have to protect people's lives and their property. So we are Captain C2, myself, CHP, we have talked about this even before Topanga Canyon was shut down due to the rains and flows. We know that we could have a traffic plan that's in place and everything's going good, and we could have 2 disabled cars on Topanga Canyon Boulevard on a perfect day that impacts that traffic flow. So we are looking at how we can navigate this with the most efficiency as possible. But one thing that helps your fire department and your law enforcement is your level of engagement to know your ways into your home, follow direction, don't think you know better. And if you have good suggestions, we will take those into account. But at a road stop pleading your case impacts others and others and others. So I'm going to stop right there. If you want me to field a few questions, I know that you have an action-packed evening, but I want to accommodate as best as I can on any several questions if you have that.
Okay,
I-
let me just,
I-
wait, Roger, hold on, just a couple things before we get into the questions. Hold your question. I just wanted to know, is there going to be any sort of a memo coming out that we can distribute to folks about this? And then also if you could touch base on what the thinking is with the drill this year.
Okay, so Captain C2 and I are, yes, we are working on the messaging, but we're also gauging that based upon the intelligence that we get, just like you're getting, on a time frame. I can say now, with significant confidence, if we do not have a major wind event out of the east, our evacuation component is significantly reduced. Can we have a fire in Topanga on the 4th of July that goes to the top of the ridge and it can cause some challenges? Yes. But are we going to have a fire scenario like Old Topanga, like Calabasas, like Woolsey? The answer is no, not yet. That targeted window for us, as we all know, is September 1st to Christmas. And as you know, we always do a great job of distributing the messaging on that risk to all the Topanga sites so people can grab that good information and make an informed decision. So with that being said, I'll stop with that, and then Megan can talk to here in a minute on what we're thinking about the evacuation or any other community event component, which we're going to team think with you because we want to meet the needs of the community. So it's not an us thing, meaning us, the fire department, it's all of us thing on what we think is going to meet the need of the community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe. And by the way, a quick update about the videos. Our host of the meeting said that everyone's video is technically allowed. She's not sure why for some people they're having trouble, but she urges you to try your own settings again and see if it changes. But just know that it's something that we have addressed on our end. Not sure why it's not working for some people. Okay. All right. So Megan, did you want to go ahead on the drill?
So first I wanted to touch on alerts and notifications, which is one of the most important components of evacuations. So the county utilizes emergency evacuation zones. We have an emergency evacuation zone map. In Topanga, there are 9 zones. So if you don't know which zone you live in, I would recommend that you go to protect.genesis.com, which hosts the map, and I'll drop that in the chat also. And also there is a website, an LA County website, I believe it's called LA County Emergency Notifications, which I'll also drop in the chat, which goes over many other options. So there's the emergency evacuation zones. We also have Alert LA County, which connects with that platform to make sure that everyone is on the same page during an evacuation about what zones are impacted. And then also the NOAA weather alert radios, which are an important tool that we use. So I'll put all of those things in the chat plus my email address. So if anybody has any more specific questions, I can help out with that. But I think that it's important that everybody at least know what zone they live in and get familiar with the website and download the app as well, which you can find on the website that I'll put in the chat, just so everybody's getting the correct alerts during an incident.
Fantastic, Megan. Thank you for being so dexterous with that chat. I know people will really value that information. Do look for it. It will be good. If you don't know your zone, take a moment now to go figure that out with the link she's going to put in there. Okay, Roger, you had a question.
No, I just wanted to make sure that we had a minute or two for James Grasso to jump in and talk about the work that he's been doing and the book that he put together and is working on now. Might be good that, and because these zones, I'm sure the zones are indicated in that book.
They
Yeah.
are. That's
Yeah.
correct. We added zone 10, which is just below zone 9, of course, which incorporates the lower part of the, I guess you will, the
Sunset Mesa.
Yeah, Sunset Mesa community. One thing before James goes, I wanted to, and I saw it come up in the chat, and I'm glad it was brought up. So let me tell you what we do immediately when we have a fire in Topanga. the first thing we all do is shut down Topanga Canyon Boulevard at Mulholland and New Canyon. We also shut it down at Mulholland and Old Canyon. So the influx from the valley cannot get into the canyon. That's the first priority we do. Also, what we would do, but in this case, we don't have to, of course, is we shut that down at Pacific Coast Highway and Topanga Canyon. The fourth component that we do is we shut down the canyon at the top of Saddle Peak and Stunt. So we can isolate traffic coming into the canyon. So we have all those potential avenues for people to evacuate. One thing that we also do is we put people at Mulholland and Santa Maria. That's the fifth component that we do immediately, so we can use those arteries, if you will, that road system, so we have them available to us as an option. And that is a lot of times regardless where the fire's at in the canyon. We shut down those 5 we call control points. So now we know that we have those control points in place, and then we can implement a traffic plan for evacuation. So thank you, whoever put that in the chat.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. So I want to make sure that James gets on. We have a couple
You
more
also
minutes.
mentioned the drill, Carrie.
Oh, yes, yes,
I
yes.
wanted to mention that we were planning on doing an in-person drill this year. We still need to work on the details, but that's something that we can do offline, but we are definitely planning on trying to set up a drill at some point this year.
And is that for June or May?
I think it's going to be a little bit later.
Okay. Fair enough. Good. Makes sense.
Yeah,
We'll
should do a
send the
little bit
details out
later
once we
this
decide
year,
on that.
June-ish.
I know we want to hear from James. We do have several questions in the chat pertaining to evacuation, and I think it might be best
All right.
addressed.
And all right. So quick question on that. Drew, are you able to address some of these questions in the chat? Because we need to get through the agenda. We're already 20 minutes behind. So I think it would be best if he could handle those to the chat so that we can get to the remainder
Some
of.
of us are driving and cannot be on chat.
Okay. Do you have a question?
I wrote down several that are pertaining to this. Do you want me to read some of them, or do you want me to save them for later?
All right, let's do
You can
three.
field
Let's
them,
do three
maybe.
questions. Let's do three
Elisa.
questions. Three questions. And then
Elisa, if you
James,
can
we'll
field them.
turn it over to you. All right, Drew, can you hear that?
I can hear, but Elisa wants to field some of those.
Yeah, three
Um,
questions.
Well,
And
I was
then
just
that
trying
can be
to-
handled in the chat.
Pull a few forward. I think you've addressed some of these issues, but one person asked, can the fire road from Entrada down to PCH area be open to Topangans? This from Barbara Webb as a question. I see James shaking his head no.
Yeah, that's so I like the concept, but no, but with the amount of rain that we've had in the road system in their shape, we still have to do our maintenance on there. So that it's not a good idea to put people on fire road systems in evacuations.
And then Elizabeth Hackett,
coordinated.
thank you, Drew. One person, Elizabeth Hackett, asked about a rapid moving fire during a Santa Ana event. I think you've addressed that regarding shelter in place.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And then another person named Heather L. Jam asked to ask her own important question regarding fire danger evacuation. Justin, could we unmute Heather? Thank you.
Sorry, it's more of a comment. I've lived in Topanga my whole life. I've been through a lot of fires. My family's been here for almost 70 years. I'm extremely concerned about a wind-driven fire. I know that Chief Smith said that it's probably not likely till September, which makes me feel a little bit better, assuming the road is open by then, and hopefully CalTrans will address that. However, we know that Fernwood is not sufficient as an evacuation route. And I understand also that during even the most perfect circumstances, when Topanga Canyon is open, that something could happen. An accident could happen, or somebody could panic, flat tire, things like that. So I get it. That being said, Fernwood being the only evacuation route would be disastrous. I'm a wildfire attorney. I do wildfire litigation. I'm working currently with Lahaina families. I've seen firsthand what happened there. People would incinerate in their cars, and I'm not being dramatic. So I want to know, what does sheltering in place look like for Topangans? I mean, that like you said, Chief Smith, it's pitch black. You can't see. There's smoke, there's inhalation, there's all these things. So I think we as residents, I think you're admitting, obviously, that Topanga being closed increases the likelihood of having to shelter in place. in a fire such as this, a wind-driven fire, that would require evacuation to the coast. So I think that a lot of people want to know kind of more concretely what that might look like.
So that's a great question. So that's one reason that we have the zone concept that you created. So we can look at those zone priorities, and all those zones may not be in the same evacuation component.
Right.
Depending on impacts, there's a time and place for shelter in place. And those zones that have time, and it all revolves around time. We know if we just use average numbers, 12,000 such residents in Topanga. We know that that population and their mobility is very transient in a 24-hour period. So we evaluate that. And so with the evacuations on where we know the fire starts, if it is below a certain point, let's say it just happens to start at Old Canyon and New Canyon intersection by the library, we'll have different evacuation components south of the library for people to use Fernwood based upon time. And we'd have a different traffic plan for people to travel the north up to Topanga Canyon Boulevard. So we evaluate the zones, the population, the roads. We have great interactive maps that your fire department has and your sheriff's department have that we practice. So I know that it sounds ugly because it is. It really is. And we are taking it very seriously. And we are going to come up with the best solutions for being as efficient as we can. But shelter in place is real. And
Real quick, True Smith.
yes, ma'am.
So one thing that you've suggested in the past that I think is important to consider, especially if Topanga Canyon Boulevard is closed, if there were to be a red flag day when the boulevard is still closed, it would probably be advisable to leave early and evacuate on your own before there even is a fire. Like if there's a red flag, try to leave the canyon and go stay somewhere else, because that alleviates
Yep, we did talk about that as actually Elisa and I came up with the snow day for people taking their kids to school. If you have a high risk day, it might be okay to take a tactical pause with the family and wait for, because our Santa Ana wind and high risk days usually last for 3 days. They ramp up, they peak and drop.
Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt, but we're already 5 minutes behind. This is a really important topic. It really
Understood.
needs its own day. I would encourage the fire department to set up its own Zoom meeting to go over this, but we do need to cover a lot of material. So Chief Drew Smith, if you could address some of the questions in the chat. Anybody who has questions, we will also we're saving the chat and we will send it to the county officials and the fire department so they will have them memorialized and can address them over time. But I would encourage there to be a future meeting and a future focus on what shelter in place looks like, as well as other things that have come up tonight that we don't have time to delve into in detail, but they're all critical questions.
We'd enjoy that. Thank you.
Drew, can I ask the final question? There's several people just asking about our emergency communications plan in a blackout with a power cut. Forgive me if I missed that, and that was
Oh my God, that's another.
Yeah,
We're
so-
working on it.
I know we have to move on, but is that something that we can quickly just point us in the right direction regarding a blackout situation in an emergency, given
Right.
this?
So the messaging platform based upon communications, however we do it, we have the NOAA weather alert radios. We have our AM radios in our car. We can be down with any of the internet cell coverage, internet lines. So we can be left in the dark. We really can. So just remember, with the NOAA weather radios, that is also a platform for us to broadcast a message. And we do that with the National Weather Service. We have to get messaging out there. But remember your AM radios, remember your batteries. We are very good and disciplined with our media outlets for getting the right information out there. So it is given multiple ways on your news radio stations. KNX 1070 News Radio works great with us. And some of the others. We get all that information, what is going on. So don't forget about that AM radio.
Agreed. I like that. You can get it in your car too.
Yes,
Satellite radio is good as well. All right.
Yes.
So we want to make sure we get to James and then we want to move on to CalTrans. But thank you again, Fire Department, for your amazing contribution. We are more than 100% behind you on any session you want to do to educate the community and bring them up to speed on the latest and greatest. All right, James, do you want to update us on what you're up to at TCEP?
Okay, so I'll quickly say, just touching on what Drew just talked about, yes, communication is a challenge at Topanga. As we all know, we have limited cell phone coverage. That was the point of the no weather radios. We do have some options. We're working on better cell phone communication in Topanga. We're trying to get better coverage. And also, don't forget, TCEP has the top of the hour report. You can find all this information in your Topanga Disaster Survival Guide that does provide you, if there's no other form of communication at the top of the hour, you can figure out what's going on. Just quickly, I know there's a lot going on. I would reiterate everything Drew had just said about the LA County Fire Department is amazing at putting out any fire short of the super wind-driven fires, which is a challenge for anyone. And so we've got a bit of time. Obviously, the boulevard being closed is a major challenge and a major issue, but we typically don't get those winds, as Drew said, until the end of the year. So that is the only fire that I personally ever worry about. Everything else, the fire department can typically handle. And so we have been working with the fire department and with law enforcement on evacuation plans. We're almost ready to reveal them to the public. It is contraflow, as we've talked about in the past, so we would turn Topanga Canyon Boulevard one way and possibly some other ways, but it's in the works and we're hoping to get it finished pretty soon, and it will be very specific and we'll reveal it when those plans are in place. It's been talked about for years and years and years. Until we've got this crew in law enforcement and fire, we've not been able to implement it. So excited about that. Roger talked about also, we're working on a smaller version of the Topanga Disaster Survival Guide, and we're calling it the Topanga Evacuation Guide. And it will be specifically kind of a go book, and it will be the book that when you get the notice that it's time to evacuate, it's not time to start building your stuff. You grab this book and it will have all the critical information you need for evacuating at the moment. And so we're hoping to get that out within the next month or three. And we are trying desperately to get it mailed out, as we did with the Topanga Disaster Survival Guide. Last thing I want to say is, as for the drill, that is something that the TEM task force handles. We are meeting next Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and we will be talking very much so about what that looks like. We haven't decided yet. We're thinking, and we'll run this through fire and law enforcement and the other players. We're thinking of, in this springtime, doing something prior to brush clearance expiration, of doing some kind of home hardening brush clearance information with the new rules in place for brush clearance. And then maybe a little bit later dealing with whether it is an actual evacuation, a tabletop evacuation, or some kind of hybrid that we've done in the past online, to be determined. Hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we'll have that finalized. We are meeting next Wednesday to work that out. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, James, for everything you do and delivering it so succinctly. Really, really, really appreciate it. Excellent update. Okay.
Can I just interject? Rosie has put in the chat, thank you, Rosie, information about home hardening and a resource that RCD is working on. So please look through the chat from Rosie Daggett. There's a link there on how to do home hardening and better manage vegetation in your home.
Yes.
And Carrie, also, I think, like you said before, I think we need to dedicate a full meeting just for this. Maybe the next month's meeting, we should do that.
Yeah, we'll discuss it after. I'm on board. Okay, so we're about a half an hour behind. Just want everyone to update their schedule, know that it's going to be closer to 9. But without further ado, would like to move on to our featured segment of the evening, and that will be CalTrans. Quick overview: CalTrans will be updating us on the road closure, and they will also be doing a very brief segment at the end about another project that's coming down the pike shortly. But without further ado, I would like to turn it over to CalTrans. I'm not sure if it's going to be James Medina or Lauren Wonder who wants to head off the segment. I know that our presenter for the update will be Nina Choi, the Geotechnical Services Chief, and our presenter for the broadband will be Akeem Tariq. Jim, Lauren, who would like to introduce CalTrans?
Gary, good evening. This is Jim Medina, Public Information Officer with CalTrans. Thank you for welcoming us to the meeting. And I'd like to especially appreciate our partner agencies in Los Angeles County Fire Department, as well as the town council, as well as the Lost Hills Station. We are working aggressively to try to amend this situation. We are working on the Tuna Canyon lights. We have a team out there tonight that is going to be addressing that. I know that we've had some issues there. And so I want to assure the community that we're trying to correct that problem. As you know, there are temporary lights and to provide access to southbound PCH. We have Nina Choi, our CalTrans Geotechnical Services Chief, who'll present more on our slide update. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, now Jaspreet, I know that Nina Choi will need a screen share privilege.
She should be all set to go.
Awesome. Okay, Nina, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. So first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for having my partners here at CalTrans as well. I'm looking through the chat, and I understand the urgency. And so hopefully what I can do a little bit today is shed some light on our process here at CalTrans and what we do as what our geotechnical engineers have been doing out in the field and what our plan is going forward. So just a quick update on kind of what's been going on. We have a licensed engineering geologist that has been visiting the site on a daily basis. Now, the reason why they're going to the site is they're trying to observe the movement of that slide. To a trained geologist and a licensed geologist, they kind of know what to look for. So they're looking at changes in vegetation, changes in maybe cracks in the ground, movement of landmarks like rocks or boulders. And that tells us if the slide is still moving or not. So the slide is still active, although the rain and the precipitation of the weekend surely hasn't helped. So we like to joke around in the geotech world that probably our worst enemy is water. If you add water to these slopes, and please be kind in the chats, happy to answer any of your questions and answer them to the best of our ability. Basically, what that water does is it adds to the load on that slope. It makes it heavier, and it also lubricates planes that were there in the future. Lubricates planes, and then those can also slide in the future. So I do want to show a couple of photos. And let's see if I can get this, start sharing the screen.
Should be a green button at the bottom of your screen. Yep.
Okay. All right, so this is just a brief overview of what we've got. One of the things that we do is we do look at historical slides in the area. So we do have a historical slide. It's a smaller one that says mapped landslide. This is from the 1940s. That actually gives us information on what we have out there on site. Now, to the south, in between, we've got also this large mapped earth flow. It's really not moving right now. It's fairly stable, but it's something that we want to watch for, because if we disturb too much, we could trigger movement in that particular earth flow. The landslide that we have active right now, that's in between the two of them. So what you can see is these red lines. This is previous earth movement. There's your landslide here on the left from the 1940s. The blue hashed lines, that's movement that we've been seeing for this particular landslide that's happened this year. And this is so you can kind of see on the LiDAR the indentations, and this is one of the things that we use, that our engineering geologists will look at. Now, one thing I wanted to convey is what you see from the roadway isn't the whole landslide. What you actually have is very akin to, I would make an analogy like an iceberg. So what you see is only just a small portion of what we actually have. So the red dotted lines actually show landslide movement. And the actual slide actually goes quite a bit of the way up that slope. So it actually goes another 200 feet above where we see the actually exposed material. Okay. Let me go ahead and stop share right there. So again, one of the things that we've been trying to do is just trying to make sure that the landslide is stable enough for folks for us to get on there. Right now, it's not stable. That's why we haven't had any equipment up there. We haven't been able to put people on top of the slide. It has gotten to the point where we feel comfortable. The contractor will be cutting a track on the north side so that we can have engineering geologists go to the north, to the top of the area outside of the slide region to verify the head of the scarp. That helps us with our calculations. Right now, what we're looking at as a mitigation strategy is removal of material from the top down. The reason being, we did look at other options such as a retaining wall. However, a retaining wall is probably not the best option because this is a CalTrans scenic roadway. The other thing that we were looking at as well is the size of a retaining wall would be a very, very tall retaining wall. We would have to put a lot of soil nail anchors in, and the construction period for that would also take quite a long time as well. So that being said, our best bet is to try to grade from the top down once things start to dry out. That could take anywhere from a few weeks to several weeks after the last precipitation event. Even though the ground may look dry on top, it's kind of like creme brulee, right? It's hard on top, but it's still kind of mushy on the bottom, on the inside. We're still waiting for all that water to get through that ground. And actually, if you were to go out to the job site, and there's actually a pretty good video from yesterday, which I will play, you can still see there is water that is running through that site. And Jim, I believe you took this video yesterday out on the field. So you can still see that there is water coming out from the side of the slope. And what that indicates to us is there's still a lot of moisture there. And that still indicates a bit of slope instability.
Yes, it was trickling out yesterday.
Mm-hmm. You can see the water running out from the hill.
There's a natural spring there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to dry up anytime soon.
No. So
still no plan. Like we're still just hanging out, twiddling our thumbs, watching water come out.
That's
the reality.
Wait, folks, let's let CalTrans finish the presentation before we
That's not
interject.
the case. All we're saying is that that the water is an indicator for us. Now, we do have a plan. We have done some initial calculations on the amount of material that would need to be removed. Part of the design for that grading also includes a drainage. We will have to look at a drainage plan. So to your point, with there being a natural spring and potential precipitation in the future, that will have to be something that we look at, is how do we also mitigate some of the you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the chat for now. If there's any questions that you see as hosts that are germane, please bring them up.
Yeah, and we will collect them for you as well and send them to you afterwards.
Thank you. So we do have some rudimentary calculations at this point. We know that we have to remove probably around 90,000 cubic yards of material. That is akin to about 5,500 standard dump trucks worth of material. So we're not talking about a small amount of material here. It's quite a large amount, and that will take some time. We have had several discussions with our counterparts in the district in construction and maintenance. We tentatively, based off of other slides, other similar situations that we've had to deal with statewide, we tentatively are looking at perhaps being able to open up the roadway by the fall. And I know that's not popular, but at least that's a timeline. And part of the reason is because of the sheer amount of material that we have. Now I understand that folks have asked, can we move that material so we can at least get cars through, even if it's one lane? The problem that we have there is even if we were to do that, that doesn't stabilize the slope. And the grading of the slope, actually, that's the intent. We are trying to get the load off of that slide plane, so it doesn't continue to load that slide plane and push that material out to the road. The last thing we want to do is move material without mitigating what's above it, and then somebody's driving their kids to school and that slope goes and somebody is hurt. And so from CalTrans's perspective, safety is one of our biggest priorities. And while I sincerely understand the frustration and the time that it's taking, because of the amount of material and the unstable nature of the landslide, we want to make sure that we proceed as cautiously as possible, because any impact to safety or to anyone's lives is not acceptable to CalTrans. I will go ahead and take any additional questions. And
Okay, we're gonna manage those. Lisa has been monitoring the chat and is going to go ahead and select a few, but I did want to say, Nina, thank you for your presentation. You gave us a lot of information. I'm very pleased with the amount of information you gave us, not so pleased with the amount of time, but glad that you at least gave us some idea of the semblance of duration that this might take and what the process might look like. I deeply appreciate that. I know CalTrans was very resistant to giving any information at all about timelines. So you're saying the fall is encouraging to me in the sense that at least it's not a year and it's something to work with. It's a goal that we can strive towards. So thank you for trying to kind of map it and put it in terms we can sort of understand and start planning around. If we could do this before school in the fall, that would relieve a huge pressure point in the community for our school commuters, our parents, and our students. That would be enormous. So keep that in mind, and we will keep reaching out to the powers that be to see if more resources can be brought in. But thank you for that. And now we'll turn it over to questions. Elisa?
I'm going to try that. There's pages and pages. Okay. So I'm going to try to pull out a few. I recognize there will be many we can't cover. I apologize. We will save them all. We will share.
Well, there's one while you're looking, Lisa, I'll just start with one that we've heard a few times, and it's one of those things that sounds so crazy, it just might work or not. But here's the question in a nutshell. Why hasn't CalTrans considered, or why would it not be plausible to, God, this sounds weird, but like to kind of detonate, or somebody's like in the way that they've handled boulders and whatnot in the past, to sort of get rid of all that material quickly en masse, let it come down and then push it out rather than slowly grade it and wait for it to dry out?
I probably should have explained this a little bit better when I showed the maps, but because this landslide is in between an older slide and then this earth mass, this earth flow, we don't want to blow it up, for lack of a better term. What that could do is it could activate the plane on that earth flow. And so now you have more soil coming down next to it. And so that's part of that reason why we haven't considered detonation as an option.
Thank you, Nina. I think one of the questions I've been asked in many different forms, even though we recognize that there's limiting factors to have the geologists actually assess this slide, I think there's a real hunger from the community to understand similar slides in California. Can you talk with us a little bit about the broad brush strokes of this type of slide and kind of lay out some of the possible, I mean, you mentioned a few things, but are there 5 options? Are there 10 options? Can you lay out people are asking for some broad brushstrokes so they can get a sense. There's 5 different possibilities. They would take 3 to 6 months. It would involve XYZ. Is there any kind of, bifurcation of a few main strategies that are likely to be pursued so that people feel like they have more information?
Sure. So like I mentioned, probably the 2 main ways that we would try to mitigate a slide or resolve a slide like this is either with a structural solution, i.e. a retaining wall, or try to decrease the load on the top of that slide. So what we have here, and I hate to sound too technical, but the type of slide that we have here is a rotational slide. So what happens is we kind of know generally what the slide plane is going to be, but it's kind of like a scoop. And as the landmass above the existing slide, what it's doing is it keeps pushing on the material below it. And that's why we keep having these scoops coming out. Now, so that's why our mitigation strategy is let's try to get let's try to decrease the load at the top, so that we can decrease the load that's pushing the rest of it out. Does that make sense?
It does. And I guess a related question is talking about, and you mentioned drainage, but there's a question about when there's, going to be ongoing drainage and seepage, what are the strategies you have for removing water or offsetting that water to kind of reduce the ongoing slow destabilization? And I'm sure you have strategies to handle that approach. And we wanted to understand that better.
Yes, in some cases, in some projects, what we have had to do is put in drainage, horizontal drains into the slope to try to drain that water out, to try to draw that water out and maybe into gutters or something like that. But the biggest thing, I think, one of the main things here is just the precipitation. So I understand we do have this natural spring, and the natural spring, while that's probably not the cause of the landslides, I think I would have to hazard to guess that the heavy rains that we've had over the last couple of years have contributed to this. And so being able to decrease that load and decrease the saturated soil, the amount of saturated soil is the key here. And that's why we've gone with grading the slope from the top down. That's a mitigation strategy that we have used in other areas like Mud Creek along the coast and Big Sur and Highway 1.
Thank you. I think there's also a number of questions about slides along the PCH, and there's several areas that have been highlighted near Sunset, near Porto, near Big Rock. Those ongoing slides, the way they've been barriered off, probably are also unstable, but that ends up decreasing lanes. And they, from a commuter point of view, you're driving by something that sort of looks static, and it's greatly impacting on traffic. So several questions were asked about multiple other slides. Could anything be done? Could we have the timing of repair on those slides not hit rush hour? Because we are facing, as you understand, 4 hours and often upwards of 6 hours a day of drive time for some of our children going to and from school, et cetera, during rush hour. So that's been asked several people.
Well, I will have to take a look at the other slides and the other incidents along 27. But I also wanted to point out that not all the rock and debris that we see on the road is the same mechanism. So what we have here, I said, was like a rotational landslide where the mass is getting pushed from the top. Some areas along 27 are maybe what we would call rock topples, or maybe it's just more of a surface type of rock fall event, and it's not as deep-seated as what we have here.
Elisa, I'm going to jump in with a question if you don't mind. Quick other question for you, Nita. I'm not sure if you could answer this or someone else at CalTrans who handles regulatory affairs, but basically we had somebody ask the following question. Are there any other agencies that have to be consulted before clearing TCB? Are there regulatory barriers that are slowing this down? Would it help if a disaster declaration were declared on many levels, both in terms of speeding that up and possibly opening up funds for small businesses?
Okay.
Sorry, that's a lot.
that is a lot. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so basically, is there a regulatory barrier to getting any of this addressed, or do you guys have
Okay.
the ability to do whatever you need to do right now?
So here's the thing, and I will, Elisa, I see in the chat that some of the questions actually had to do with PCH. I understand if folks want to hear about PCH, we can deal with those PCH questions separately than at this particular venue, because we're talking about
It's
27.
so germane, though. It's so germane to
I-
to the way that we live. You have
But
to.
it- for
figure out a
geotech-
PCH
I
that-
understand, but you know what? I am responsible for all of the geotechnical issues from the Oregon state border all the way to the Mexico border.
Fair enough.
I can't hit all of them today.
Yes, no, fair enough. We get it, Nina, we get it.
So-
We understand both sides, but yeah, we're just asking you to focus on TCB if that's what you feel most
So-
comfortable doing.
So in this particular situation, yes, we do have to deal with, we have been in conversations with state parks, because any mitigation strategy that we have will involve state parks. It will be on their land. So we have been in conversations with them. We have also coordinated concurrently while we've been doing our on-site observations, is coordinating with our internal partners in district environmental, so we can get the necessary permits to do the work. So right next to 27, we have that creek, and that is an environmental concern. We also have to be very cognizant of endangered species or any species that are going to be impacted by any work that we do in the area. So we have been working with our environmental folks to make sure we get the necessary permits, so that when we are able to say, okay, the slope is ready for us to get on, it's dry, we can hit the go button and start.
Okay, all
I
right.
wanted another question, and I think it pertains, Nina, to the question of environmental, and I believe this is not probably a good idea environmentally, but there are questions about, could we divert traffic around the slide, build a temporary bridge? I think that would go into the creek where there's endangered species, but that was a question being asked, I think, trying to alleviate this total hard block. Can you respond to that?
That was not an option that we looked at, but, and I won't speak for environmental, but anytime we cross over the creek, then we are dealing with environmental issues. So we would have to get permits for that. Depends on what type of a bridge we would be looking at as well, a temporary bridge. And I'd have to take a look at the site. And we'd have to have our folks from a structures perspective, see if that's even feasible.
Okay. I'm going to jump in here again, Elisa. Question about the disaster declaration. Is that something that you could petition or originate from within CalTrans? Is that something that's even being considered? I think it would be helpful to some of our small businesses, maybe for claiming business interruption insurance or any other supportive resources they could get. Nina?
Yeah, that was a question early, Nina, in the chat, is about federal dollars, federal.
Yeah,
emergency,
disaster declaration
whether that
for
could be-
additional resources.
yeah, to free up financing.
Okay, actually, that might be a better question, I think, maybe for our district partners in terms of financing
Okay.
and emergency dollars.
Okay, district partners, please be ready to address that during your segments.
I see Roger has his hand raised.
Okay, Roger, go ahead. Roger, we're not hearing you. You may have to unmute yourself. All right, we're still not hearing you.
There is, okay, Roger's coming on. While he's doing that, there was a question that's an interesting one that I think we ought to also raise by Millicent Borges, who says, what if the slide cannot be repaired? Do we have a backup plan? This is obviously kind of a worst case scenario, but I think we are thinking
A meta question.
the
I
best
think-
case without the case.
We are confident with regards to our mitigation strategy.
Okay, and Nina, one other question being asked by several families is there any chance of even a partial reopening of TCB prior to the next calendar school year, which usually restarts in mid-August? So obviously there will be some relief of traffic, but that's a question among our families.
Right now, with the, like I mentioned, we've had discussions on what it would take to open up one lane. right now it doesn't look like it's either all lanes or no lanes. So we're still looking at probably the fall.
Okay, I see Roger.
I'm unmuted now.
Great. Go ahead, Roger.
Nina, first, thank you for coming to this meeting. I want you to understand that this community is very, very understanding of the issues. There are many of us in this community that understand what you're up against, and for you to understand what we're up against. It is totally unacceptable to hear you say to us that it could be all the way into the fall. I know that's not what may happen, but that could happen. That's unacceptable, just totally unacceptable. We can't have that. We've got to figure out a way. We don't need to get both lanes open right away. We just need to have a pathway to get through. And the major concern that I have, and I know everybody on this chat has, is fire. Up until now, everything has been quite good because of the rain. So it's worked for us in a sense. But we need to get a lane. We don't need to worry about the whole road being opened up. We need a lane. And I understand what you're going through. Believe me, because I've been in this game for a very long time. And so has Rosie Daggett and many others that are on this call. But it's unacceptable when somebody says to this community that we have to wait until the fall. We may have to wait until the fall. That ain't gonna work. That will not work. If worse came to worse, we will get, we'll get construction people down there to start removing the dirt ourselves if we have to. And
Okay.
I don't want to go through that. I don't want to have to do that. But that is believe me, this community is a very active and strong community.
Okay, so hold on a second. I just want to say something. Is it possible, Nina, sort of splicing with Roger's comment and mine, and I understand what he's saying, but I just want to ask, is there a possibility of doing it sooner if, say, we were to petition FEMA, the Army Corps of Engineers, or these specialty partners, the people who are fixing the bridge in Baltimore? Like, is there any conceivable way if we march to Newsom's office and say, give us more money? If we go to Buttigieg's office, give us more money, give us more resources. Any conceivable way it could be done sooner?
Which we could do.
Yeah, we could, I'm sure, organize the caravan.
Yeah, and if I can just say, I mean, Nina, I haven't read all this, but as you may see in the chat, there are many people asking about a second opinion, additional geologists. There are residents that have contacted other geologists, asked for additional bids. I understand why that would be disruptive of your work, but I think in light of the safety issues that are real and pressing and life-threatening, we're very scared, and we have reasons to be very scared. And I think accelerating this in a way that's
Nina, we need to think out of the box. We can't be thinking, okay, this is what you would normally do. That's not going to work. What needs to happen now is we need to think out of the box and get something open so that we don't have to worry about burning to death from fire.
Roger.
I understand if you need more time to think about it and talk about it, but that is the general feeling that the community has. I totally appreciate everything you said. And if there's no possible way, there's no possible way. But if there is any possible way, by golly, let's find it. Let's all find it.
Roger and Carrie, I think that's an inappropriate comment. I think the fire department is addressing that. It is not CalTrans' purview to address evacuation issues. And I think the fire department addressed those at the top of this meeting. So please, let's focus on the immediate issue of the slide. I don't put the possibility of some catastrophe on CalTrans issues just because you want the road open.
Well, Jim,
No,
it's on all of us.
excuse
right
me. The Los
Jim,
Angeles
it's on all of
Public
us.
Works is going to later report on this agenda that there's issues on other county roads in the canyon. You live in a canyon and there's been issues as far as fires, concerns, as well as slides, as well as road closures. It's not just State Route 27.
Jim, we understand where it's coming from.
I just want to express that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yes, so let Roger, let me speak. Roger, I will speak now. I just want you to understand, Jim and Nina, that the concern here, this is not pretextual. In Topanga Canyon, we are considered one of, I believe, the top 5 most difficult areas to evacuate should a wildfire come in. And usually they'll come in from the north. And our main evacuation route is not only TCB, but it's TCB at the south end. So there is this concern is enormous in this community. It really is not an excuse. So I don't want to put you on the spot per se, but it's something that I really want Caltrans to appreciate is a deep and abiding, valid concern in this community.
We
Terry?
totally appreciate that, and we totally are working as fast and quickly as possible. But I'm just
I don't think so.
So,
You-
All right, sir.
real
excuse me,
quick,
can
this
I
is-
complete my?
Chad,
Excuse me.
I appreciate your comment. You know, this is the first time that I've been able to come and listen to this community and hear your concerns. And what I'm hearing is there's a lot of very deep-seated concerns, and thank you for letting me sit here and listen to this. I mean, it's not easy. On our end, we are in our minds doing the best that we can. Now, I understand I'm not sitting there in your shoes, and I would never deign to say that I understand. But listening to you, listening to Roger, please don't think that I'm not taking all of this input and this concern that you're conveying back with me to my teams to say, what can we do to make things go quicker? I can't tell you how we can make things go quicker right now, because I'm just now getting that feedback. But don't for a minute think that it's not going through my mind that something more may need to be done on our end. And we'll be
Good.
working very diligently on our parts.
Thank you.
try to address
Thank
the
you.
concern.
Yes, we appreciate that. And I know you will, and we will be following up diligently. It's just the concern is very real here. And we so appreciate your coming, bringing all this information and just hearing the fear and the real need for something to be done as quickly as possible. That said, tonight is the first time I've heard any actionable information at all. So for that, I want to thank you. And I believe that somebody of your acumen, if there is a possible way to do it faster, you will come up with it. So,
And Carrie, can I just add, thank you, Nina. Again, it's incredibly valuable. And one of the things that has frustrated the community is that we have not had an interface with somebody like you, Ms. Choi, that really has this detailed information. I think there's a request among a lot of residents. Could Caltrans increase the content of the informational updates? The updates we've had are very general. And I think feeling kind of that there's no new information, we have nothing to say, there's no discussion of any of the details, really it adds to our frustration over many, many weeks of waiting. I think we want to have a trust in you and your agency in managing this critical resource for all of us. And so I think requesting, the kind of detailed information, Ms. Choi, that you're providing tonight, if that could be embedded in those weekly updates or regular updates from Caltrans, I think that would be helpful for our community as we're trying to partner with you in this process.
yeah, Nina, you've done an incredible job. Like you coming down and answering these questions in this candid way that you have and taking heat from all sides, because there is a lot of pent up frustration. You've done an amazing job. I hope we haven't scared you. We are here to work with you. We are passionate, but we are kind and we are smart, and we will definitely help you get this done and have valuable insights to share. We are not complainers. We are doers.
I do see
Yeah.
Sophia from the
Yeah,
Hornet's
let's get
office
her.
has her
Let's get
hand
her.
up. Dorothy
Yeah.
Wright, maybe
Yeah.
we can get to
Hi.
it.
Hi, Maria. Maria Chunkastia is on the line right here, and she's just asked, Maria, are you unmuted right now?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. So Sophia and I obviously have been here from the beginning, and I do really appreciate Nina Choi's comments. And she's put in a difficult situation because there is not the adequate time in which to really explain the nature of the slide, which she showed us. So, that's really very unfortunate, but I don't really believe at this point in time that the issue is about money and a declaration. Declaration is not needed. This is an emergency. So I want to ensure everyone in this meeting that our office, which was a direction from Supervisor Horvitz to make sure that we let the community know that it is our intent to work very closely with CalTrans. And so we will be meeting with them so we can really get a handle on this slide. You know, a lot of you know that I've been around for many years, and slides are very precarious. And when she is saying it's a rotational slide, that is not good. I know enough to know that that's not good. So, and also Nina, I'm sorry, I don't mean to disrespect you, Nina, but you did say that, you know, because this is a highway scenic corridor, that you wouldn't put up a wall. But I'm not hearing that the wall is temporary, because if it's temporary, you know, I don't know why it can be up there temporarily. So we're going to work with CalTrans to look at all the explore all options, and then we will come back to the community, you know, with more refined geological assessments, etc. And then come back with a report to at least report what the latest findings are, and whether in fact we're going to be able, or CalTrans is going to be able to open it up before the fall or by the fall. I mean, I think right now it's critical that she said by the fall. So we want to try to at least know that it can be opened by the fall. And what is it going to take to open it by the fall? So we will work with them, and we'll come back to the community to only talk about this, to go over all the assessment, what has been explored, what are they going to do, and just do it and have enough time in which to come back to the community. I'm trying to hurry because I know time is of the essence here. So you have our word that we will work with the state parks and CalTrans to, you know, have a unified effort to work on this and get it mitigated and come back.
Excellent. Maria, thank you. And for those who don't know, again, that is Maria Chong Castillo. She is the head of public works for the county. She's been working in infrastructure repair emergencies for decades. She knows her stuff. And the fact that you came on tonight, Maria, to tell us, that gives me such faith that everybody is full speed ahead, working together to get this done expertly and quickly.
Yeah, and I don't want to underestimate. I know people are upset, and you have every right to be, because, you know, Topanga, the road is a lifeline to the hills. I understand that, but we are in a very dangerous situation, and we don't, in CalTrans, nor the county, nor the state wants to put any of our community residents at risk. Okay, so we're gonna look at this and get back.
Thank you, Maria.
Oh, bravo. Okay. All right. So let me just kind of, we have to focus on the next, next step.
Can I just ask you, there's a number of questions and comments about the light tuna where it comes to PH.
Okay, 1 second. We're going to put that in the emergency traffic control segment. But there's a ton of questions. We will send all of the questions to CalTrans, and we will have more follow-up meetings. We can't address everything tonight, but know that any question that went in the chat is going to CalTrans and will be addressed, and we will have follow-up meetings. A lot of these other questions that you have may fit into another segment, so hang tight and let's see if we can squeeze it in live while we've got this meeting going. Okay, so before we move to the next segment, let me ask CalTrans. CalTrans, tonight, again, thank you for coming. There was resentment and frustration, but I think there's also a lot of understanding now, and we've made some headway. This was good. This was very good. Do you want to do your broadband update tonight? Do you want to take 5 minutes to do that, or how do you want to handle it?
Yes, Carrie, we'd like to do the broadband initiative because it goes in cooperation with the advanced notification of projects.
Okay, excellent. Then I want to go ahead and give you the time to do that. And if you could, as briefly as possible, and then we can move on to the emergency traffic control. Okay, so Tariq, Jaspreet, we need to make sure that we have Akim Tariq, spelling AKM for the first name, last name TAREQUE, that he has.
Yes, absolutely. He's ready to go.
Awesome. Okay, we are ready for you, Akim.
Okay, yeah, let me share my screen.
everyone see my screen?
See
Yes.
it.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to introduce this MMBN project. We call it Middle Mile Broadband Network Project in Topanga Canyon. Actually, California Department of Technology, we call it CDT. They are the sponsor of this project. And from CalTrans, we are partnering with them in designing and constructing this broadband project. And after the construction, CDT, that is California Department of Technology, they will basically operate and maintain this network. So this is basically the GIS map. It shows all the broadband project that we may build for CDT. And this is actually a part of statewide broadband for all initiative. So in this is the Topanga Canyon project, and it starts from PCH all the way to Route 11, 12.4 mile segment. So in designing this Topanga Canyon project, we are considering two principal factors. The first one is the minimum impact to the environment, and the second impact is minimum impact to the traffic. So for the first one, we are basically designing to place this broadband network underneath the existing pavement so that there is no disturbance outside the roadway prism. At the same time, we are mindful to protect the birds, bats, etc. For minimum impact to the traffic, we are planning to do all the work during night by keeping at least one lane open. There will be no daytime closure. So we are mindful that the project that we are doing definitely gonna generate noise. So proactively, we perform the noise study already. So here is the result. So these column, the first one, it shows the distances of the residents from the roadway. And this is the existing noise level. This is the daytime noise, and this is the nighttime noise. And during the construction, this would be the noise. So as you see, during the night time, this would be the noise, and it varies from 84 to 90 decibels. And that is the scale for noise. So now I like to bring your attention to these graphics. Here, it shows the noise level, again, in decibels. And up to this, around like 62, as you see, it's a green band. So up to here, it's categorized as quiet level. But from 62 to around 88, it categorized as moderately loud. So that's what we're gonna generate during our construction. So noise-wise, it's not that bad. But at the same time, I also like to point out that this is a installation of broadband network, and it is a longitudinal installation along the Topanga Canyon Boulevard. So you're not gonna see the equipment, construction equipment at the same location every night. It's gonna move because the production rate is like 500 to 1,000 feet. So it's a moving operation. So here it is at moderately loud. At the same time, it's a moving operation. That's why our assumption is noise-wise is not gonna be that much of impact to the community. So I'm providing here just the highlights. If you have any question or anything, I mean, yeah, you could reach out to me or you could ask at this moment.
Excellent. Kim, if you could put your contact information in the chat and let them know that you're in charge of this part of the project, then people can direct their questions to you about this. And maybe you could take some questions in the chat about this right now as well, if you'd like, because we do need to forward ahead on this discussion. But I do want to thank you for this overview. I love what you said about all the work being done at night, keeping the noise levels down, exactly what we want to hear. I mean, if it were up to us, we'd have no projects, but if we have to have them, the nighttime and making sure it's, keeping at least one lane open so that people who need to leave at night would be good. Thank you. And if you could then go ahead and put your info in the chat, that would be great. Okay, we have one question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, so I know James Grasso wanted to kind of wrap a bow around this TCB and CalTrans discussion. So let's do that. And then we'll move over to Deputy Baldi and Emergency Traffic Management and Control. James?
I had just one quick question or suggestion about all this work that is taking place on Topanga Canyon Boulevard. We have a potential repaving project of the entire boulevard. We have road work also that's taking place. And now we have the broadband work that's being done as well. And I'm just wondering if there's any way, something to think about of combining, maybe getting some of this done. I'm sure the paving guys would love the fact that the road is completely closed right now. So just wondering if we could look at the opportunity to maybe wrap all three projects together while the road is closed to minimize any future closures that might otherwise be unnecessary. That was it. Thank you.
No, excellent question, James. We were in discussions with Lauren Wonder earlier about that. I know the county is actively working on that as well in terms of trying to issue permits and kind of combine everything at once and get everything teed up. So exactly what you said can happen, where we can consolidate everything so we can minimize the overall number of disruptions, because there are all these projects and we don't want them to happen sequentially. We want them to happen simultaneously where possible. Makes perfect sense. Okay, we are now going to make a shift to
Carrie, can I address that?
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Jim.
There are permitting issues and also timeframes that don't coincide with each other. So just the short explanation.
Yeah, no, exactly. But that is something that I know the county is trying to work on you with. If there's anything we can do to help, certainly let us know, but we don't issue permits. But I know that's something that you are trying to work on if possible. Yes?
Exactly. We have examined that possibility.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Can I just ask Carrie, there were questions in the chat about whether there would be broadband improvements on Old Topanga as well. And there's also people asking whether this would be an underground system. These are some questions specific to the topic of the broadband
So
system.
Old Canyon would be county. You'd want to ask Maria about that probably. Yeah. And then the second part, Jim, can you answer that?
I'm sorry, what was the second part?
It's asking about whether the broadband project would be all underground.
Yes, it would be. It's designed to be underneath the pavement, fiber optic.
Excellent. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yay. That actually sounds excellent. All right. Now really going to turn to emergency traffic control this time. Okay. Deputy Baldi, are we ready? CHP, are we ready? You're up next. I hope. Okay. Do we have him ready, Jaspreet, on the queue? Hello.
I'm sorry, who?
Deputy Richard Baldi.
I'm here. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So we're going to get to the emergency traffic, and then also CHP. Casey Ramstead said he could not make it tonight, but he was going to send an alternate. Is the alternate in, if you could take a look for a CHP officer address, Jaspreet, but while you're doing that, we'll start with Deputy Baldi. Okay. All right.
Hello.
Deputy Baldi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Could be worse.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and try to address the traffic management as best as I can. And then I'll turn it over to my CHP counterpart for their input as well. So as to the option of redirecting traffic during certain times of the day, we don't see this as a feasible option for a few reasons. One of the reasons is that has been brought up a lot is the emergency evacuation. Should there have to be an evacuation, that canyon is going to be stuffed with cars going the wrong direction, which will cause delays to get people out of the canyon. Another one of our concerns is the confusion it could possibly cause with people that are unfamiliar with the area, people trying to go the wrong direction at the wrong times, which I'm sure is probably happening now as well though, but We don't want to exacerbate the situation. If there were to be a head-on in that area, that would really cause a bad traffic issue. Another issue is we would have to staff that with possibly 2 to 3 personnel between us and CHP, and we just don't have the staffing, which goes to another question you guys had about the Tuna Canyon PCH getting traffic control there. There's just no staffing right now to get extra deputies out there to control these intersections. And then the other issue, or the other possible issue that came up when talking with some of my other colleagues, was that this may alleviate the traffic for people going up the canyon. It could cause traffic in other areas to maybe on PCH or on Las Flores, and it's just going to push the problem to a different area that we just don't have a way to cope with right now. The traffic in both directions, I spoke to my traffic sergeant as well as some people from the county, and it's of the opinion that this is it's just too narrow of a road to be safely done. It's just basically they said it's an accident waiting to happen because of the narrow roadway there. And then I think that's all I have. If my CHP counterpart wants to chime in and put any of his or her input in,
That would be great. We'll see if they're on. If not,
I haven't been able to, Carrie, I have not been able to locate. There's like 375 people on, so.
Okay, that's okay. So if the individual wants to raise his or her hand to make themselves known so that we can incorporate you into the meeting. Otherwise, we'll have to pass the questions on to Casey to answer after the meeting. But are there any questions now on this issue that Deputy Baldi might be able to address while he's on? Okay.
So, Carrie, are we talking about the Tuna PCH interchange concerns? Is this?
Yeah, and then just anything related to that. I will say this, and Sophia may want to chime in as well here, but the issue of staffing, and then why couldn't we get a flagger done? That was one of the most commonly asked questions we got, and I was frustrated myself, and I still am not entirely satisfied with the answer. It's an odd one. Like, okay, we don't have enough staff. Well, why can't we get more staff, or why can't we train somebody to do this? Like, why is this such a problem? And one of the problems is that in order to do that traffic control there, because it's not a generic traffic control, you're just waving people at like a sleepy side street. It's like a major highway where in lieu of a signal, you've got a person trying to stop highway level traffic. So because of that, you need a higher level of qualification. So you have to be somebody like at the sheriff's level or above, or have some super high powered traffic control designation. And there's no market. Like, it's not out there other than the sheriff and the CHP department. DPW doesn't have that authority or ability to do that safely.
Which intersection are we talking about? Because now that we have the temporary light, at least.
I was saying before the signal was installed.
Okay, and can I just say there are many questions and concerns, and today was another example where the light itself, the timing seems to be very difficult, and the light has had power cuts on several occasions, including today, so that it ends up blinking like a stoplight. There was a massive backup on the PCH today. There were, I don't know, I think 100 cars backed up on Tuna attempting to make that left turn. We're very grateful to have that light. It took a very long time to get installed, which was very frustrating for the community. But even being there now, the power has been cut multiple times. It's been functioning like a stop sign. So it needs more support. I think the timing needs to be adjusted, and I think the power to that light needs to be redressed, because we've had multiple times where even though the resource is there, it's not working correctly. Yeah. And today is a great example of that limitation.
So wait, let's let CalTrans jump in. I believe earlier in the meeting, if he's still on, Jim, are you still on? You had mentioned that you were looking into it. Do we have a time frame on when this can be adjusted, replaced, evaluated by an engineer? Okay. He may not still be on. We'll have
people with raised hands, Carrie. I don't know if we want to address some of their questions live.
We do. It looks like CalTrans is not on, so we're going to have to send that question to him. He did say at the top of the meeting that they are looking at the light, so they are aware there's a problem. I'm assuming they have their engineers out, but that is a follow-up question that I have top of my list.
Carrie, it's Lauren. Carrie, it's Lauren. I can answer that.
Excellent.
There was a wiring issue, and the contractor is working on it tonight. It has gone out twice, frustrating us as well. And it goes into an automatic flashing red for safety reasons. And as you pointed out, you need some authority to get people to stop on that road, and flaggers were not going to work because it is a 4-lane, it has 4 lanes there, or 6 lanes, I can't remember. So we are working on that signal. We're hoping that that will be fixed tonight and we won't get into that flashing red situation. It's what we call actuated, so that as cars come up, the signal will turn green for the people coming out of Tuna and let them flush. Otherwise, it stays green for PCH. Hope that helps.
That's fantastic, Lauren. And if once it's set up or once it's been looked at, if Jim can send out a press release so people know it's been done, I think that would be really great. That was a really astute response. So thank you. I appreciate that. I feel.
Will do. Thank you.
Awesome.
There's also a number of questions about concerns about the road quality for the ancillary roads, Fernwood, that are being.
That's the focus of the county talk, the public works. So if they could just hold until then, we'll have.
There's resident requests for expanding and having 4 lanes at the Porto intersection with PCH as a way to alleviate traffic. I don't know if this is the right time to mention that. And there's a number of people with hands up. Do you want to?
Let's do like 2 or 3 hands and then move on to the next segment. Let's do that. The 4-lane is beyond the scope of this discussion.
Ryan,
Carrie, we have Officer Galbraith with the CHP.
Excellent. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Hi, so glad. Sorry. Okay, yeah, we wanted you to be able to chime in if you wanted to share your insight on the traffic management, emergency traffic control issue. We just heard from CalTrans about the signal being repaired. We heard from Deputy Baldy about some of the issues about redirecting traffic on Tuna and why that's not considered feasible yet. Is there anything else you might want to add in, any additional challenges or insights? Maybe one thing you could address is where CHP has jurisdiction on that road. I know it's a really confusing spot. Like CHP doesn't have total jurisdiction, like they hand it off in a certain area. So maybe clarify that for people.
Sure. Thanks for having me. And I feel for all you guys. This is not a fun experience in the canyon. So again, I feel for you guys. Yeah, I'm filling in for Officer Ramstead, who's at a family matter, but he did give me a couple of things to go over, and Deputy Baldy kind of addressed these issues already, but this is kind of CHP's angle here. A question about traffic redirection on Tuna and PCH. Going back to your point about the jurisdiction, the intersection of PCH and Topanga and Tuna it's in the city of Malibu, and that's not the CHP jurisdiction, even though a lot of people believe it is. We're actually much further north on Tuna Canyon. So down there where the stop sign is going towards PCH, like traffic control down there would be handled by the sheriff's department, and he kind of already addressed it as far as staffing goes, and we're restricted by the same staffing problems. Another issue would be redirecting traffic on Tuna Canyon at like certain times of the day. During an active emergency, believe me, we'll work with the sheriff's department to figure those things out and make things happen. But outside of an active emergency, fire, earthquake, etc., we're not going to redirect traffic. Now that Topanga is closed, we're not going to turn it around. I don't even know if we have the authority to do that, but I know a lot of people have brought that up. I'm making a note of anything you guys are bringing up in the chat here about Tuna Canyon, someone crossing over lanes, dangerous driving. I do encourage everyone to still, call 911 if you guys notice a specific incident or a certain vehicle that's doing something dangerous that needs to be reported. We do have officers down there, but also another misunderstanding about the CHP is our staffing in the canyons. We usually have about 1 officer working the entire canyon area. We're also covering the 101, the 405, the 118, the 170, and all that. But we do have a few Malibu task force officers on PCH. And then the 1 officer who's staffing the canyons is responding to active calls, accidents that are actually happening on Mulholland, Canyon, Las Virgenes, Malibu Canyon, etc. But like I said, I am making note of your particular issues on Tuna Canyon, and I'm going to pass that on to Officer Ramstead, and maybe he can follow up with you guys more next week.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, we would like to get responses because we take great pride in getting back to the community with responses to the questions that they've taken the time to put down. But thank you for coming and taking that on. I really appreciate that. And that was excellent insight. And I think you clarified the jurisdiction issue very nicely.
Carrie, can we have a few of the raised hands
Yeah,
addressed?
let's do 2 or 3, then we're half an hour behind, so this is gonna put us.
I understand that.
Okay,
Maybe
go for it.
quickly, Ryan, iPhone, if you
Yep.
would like to unmute.
Yep.
Brian, can you unmute yourself? You can't. I'm asking you to unmute. There you are.
There we go.
Okay.
Hi, I know we've heard a little bit about staffing issues. If we are like told of the funding requirement, or we can even do volunteers, I have no doubt that Topanga Canyon would be able to have the right personnel at the top and the bottom of Tuna Canyon, unless I missed that. I know that there was maybe some talk that they aren't certified, or they have to be certified for the traffic, but you know, I'm just thinking about there's a lot of families in the Canyon that are struggling with 4-hour transit times for kids if they go to school outside of the Canyon. I don't have that problem. My kids go to the elementary, but I know that is an issue. A lot of people also that have work, in town, they then have to go obviously around to the 101. Just any way that we can, even if it's for an hour, have some traffic going the other way up Tuna Canyon, understanding that might have to change at a certain point if there is any fire risk. I understand that fully, but even if there's like an hour or something, I just feel like, someone just pointed out film crews hire off-duty cops all the time for certain things. Is there any way that we as a community can address some of the issues that potentially are out of your hands with regards to funding, et cetera? Sorry if that's long-winded. Sorry if I missed anything. I just am trying to look for different solutions here. Apologies.
Excellent question. Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciated that. Okay, does anyone, Deputy Baldy or our CHP officer, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. If you want to address that question, I think I would just say off the cuff, I know Deputy Baldy did say that they've looked into the tuna redirection, and I know, I'm with you, I wish it could be done, but for various reasons, they felt like it's unsafe. Can that be revisited, Deputy Baldy? Is there any way to revisit that?
I don't see any way right now. All we can really do is, I guess, cross our fingers and hope that Topanga Canyon gets open quicker. Touching on the point of, I think he was mentioning maybe possibly having volunteer traffic control. I think that would just put too much of a liability on whatever agency would be standing behind them, whether it's sheriffs or CalTrans or the city of Malibu, since technically that would be their intersection down at the bottom there. It would just put too much liability on that person to have a volunteer there, and it would take a long time to train someone up to handle that kind of intersection. That is a rough intersection, and even the most seasoned of deputies are probably gonna have issues with people trying to just drive right through them because it happens all the time. Even the vests, we get hit with our vests on. People just don't see us, so we don't want that happening to just a volunteer. It may be worth the risk. You may think it's worth the risk, but it's not. As to funding, I don't know that funding is such an issue as recruitment and getting people to apply for the job. I know that we're currently running a deficit. More deputies retire or leave the agency than we can currently hire. So it's just it's a countrywide problem. And even if we were to turn that around, it would take a year or two to get those people out to patrol. So it's not a short-term solution that's going to happen anytime soon.
A fair and candid response. I really appreciate that as well.
And can I just emphasize, Carrie, that I think Ryan also raised a very relevant question about the severely long commute times for families, particularly and others. And even if, tuna being bidirectional is not deemed to be a safe solution, I think there was one comment in the chat about whether we could bring LAUSD into this conversation. I know you and I, Carrie, have had meetings separately and with other town council members with the principals to think about chartering smaller vehicles that could help the Topanga students to make a more efficient commute without being on.
And I'm hoping when we get to our state segment tonight that they'll have some ability to tell us whether or not there might be financing for supporting the school and getting that bus. So let's hold that question for that. But yes, there are other things we're doing. We're also hybrid learning to try to reduce that commute pressure. All right, so we need to
Also,
now.
do we want to take another hand up? I have Ryan Uladate, Kathy.
All right,
and
let's do Ryan Uladate, then we're gonna have to move on. We're 35 minutes behind now.
All
Okay,
right,
can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to make a real quick little point here. I'm going to throw it right in the chat right now. We have a video that we did from the Topanga Canyon Fire Safe Council about home hardening, and that's come up a lot tonight. And I just want to throw it out there that, relating to what Chief Smith said. If we need to stay in our homes, we need to make sure our homes are as safe as they can be. I'll put some resources in the chat for anybody who's interested in that. And that's it. Thank you.
Ryan, thank you. You're the best. All right, he's our Fire Safe Council Firewise guru. All right. So now we are moving on to the county report, and there will be a lot of time for questions in this segment as well. And then after the state
Can I
report.
have Steve Wolf and Kathy, please write your questions in the chat, guys. I'm sorry. I know your hand is up. We just can't do everything. So please write it down.
Just
Okay.
for now, yeah.
I'll
Okay, wonderful. All right, so Sophia, I know the county's got a lot to say. I want to, without further ado, want to get you on and speaking as soon as you're able, and also to get Public Works able to add their very important points about the side roads and let the community know what they're repairing, what they're working on. And if there are any other things that need to be reported, let people report them tonight so DPW can get right on it. All right, Jaspreet, how are we doing? Is Sophia, has she been found?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Carrie and the town council for having us here this evening. And I appreciate everybody here in the community who's been reaching out to our office, reaching out to our state offices, and letting us know the concerns that residents have had. I know a lot of the concerns have been mentioned on this call, and our office, as Maria had previously stated, are working hand in hand with our state partners, our sheriffs and LA County Fire to address a lot of these issues that were raised. So there's a lot to discuss, but I will try to make it as quick as possible, and then we can take questions and also have Public Works discuss some of the road issues that you've been talking about as well. So the supervisor did come out to Topanga a couple of weeks ago, met with some of the businesses, parents and families and residents along Tuna Canyon as well that have been experiencing those issues. So I appreciate everybody that made the time to come out there and speak with us, because I know that really meant a lot to the supervisor and gave us a better understanding of what's been going on. A lot of the concerns, exactly what's been mentioned, evacuation concerns, creek concerns, the school commutes, and evacuation concerns. So I know our fire department and our sheriffs have mentioned that, you know, evacuation concerns right now it's always a concern in the canyon, but they are working hand in hand with our partners to make sure that our routes are, you know, any evacuation that we need to do, we're making sure our roads are clear to do so. Communication is on par, and TCEP has been a valuable partner on that front. What I do want to say as well in regards to the business component of this, we know that a lot of businesses have been deeply affected by this road closure. I was just out in Topanga a couple hours ago and got to meet with some of the businesses as well. We're going to be doing a shop local campaign through our office, highlighting 3 to 5 businesses at this time, but we'll keep highlighting a couple more as we go along to highlight that and to bring more businesses, more customers into Topanga. We also are working with the Topanga Chamber about how we can partner to put on either some type of program or events that's either to attract more people into Topanga, because there's hikes to go on, there's lunches to have, there's all these different amazing things to be having in Topanga right now. And we want to make sure we're supporting our small businesses. Another thing as well, the supervisor has been in direct contact with the head of CalTrans of District 7, Gloria Roberts, I believe. She spoke with her today to try to make sure again that we're prioritizing this slide, and we're making sure that everything that we can do is being done. She also spoke with Carl Gardino, the chair of California Transportation Commission chair. So we've elevated it further up the chain as well to make sure that all the people on the state side know that, you know, this is very much a big priority for our office and for the community members. And anything that we need to get done, that we're doing it as quickly as possible. Besides that, I did want to flag something slightly outside of the slide itself. This is a program that I just don't want to have anybody miss out on. Is the Los Angeles County Aging and Disabilities Department is launching their Access to Technology program. So this program is targeting 3,000 older adults and adults with disabilities to be issued tablets. There's eligibility, of course, with it, but they're going to be able to get cybersecurity training, a 24-month access to 5G internet service, and some additional services with that. So I've sent this over to the stages, but if you know anybody else that is interested in this, please let me know and I can make sure I can send them the application. Trying to move through this as quickly as possible because we also have our wonderful road maintenance team here, Lucas Bradley. So Carrie, let me know if you want to adjust right to Lucas and then we can do questions on the county side or how you want to do it.
I think that would be good. Let's do Lucas and then we'll go to the county questions and those will encompass both the general questions and the road questions. Okay, Lucas Bradley, let's hear what you've got to say. All good news, I hope. All right, Jaspreet, were you able to?
Lucas should be able to unmute himself. Okay. Lucas.
And Lucas, if for some reason you can, if there's a technical glitch, just let us know in the chat and we'll figure something out.
He's a co-host, so.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm going to share a quick slide deck here with y'all. Thank you all for having me. Really appreciate the time. My name is Lucas Bradley. I'm the district engineer for road maintenance for Public Works, and I oversee the Santa Monica Mountains. So I'm going to, is there a way for you to allow screen sharing?
You should have a green button at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, it says host disabled participant.
Oh, that's weird because you're co-host. We just made you a co-host.
There's some weird technical glitches happening here. So I'm not sure. Try again, keep looking, but we've enabled our end. So not sure why you're not seeing it.
No worries. I'll just spin through here. I'll keep trying kind of throughout the
At least we can see you. I consider that a win. Okay.
So I'll just dive into it. Yeah, we've been facing kind of a back-to-back double whammy storm season this last year. So winter storm season, we saw 23 emergency products produced out of the 22-23 storms. We have completed 18, so 78% of them have been completed up to this year. We were looking hopeful to complete all of them by July 4th, and then we got hit by this double whammy here back in March with another round of storms that produced another 18 emergency projects. Currently, we've completed just one of those that were just recently incepted. We received about 600 maintenance requests within county unincorporated roadways in the Santa Monica Mountains. That we are out on these roads every day trying to ensure that they are as safe as possible every day. So I saw a bunch of comments. I'll try to address a few of them, but I'll kind of go on to kind of our strategy. I am self-admittedly very much a data nerd here. So we have a data-driven emergency project triage strategy. What that means is basically after every rain event, we assess if there's any additional emergency projects that have been developed. We then triage them in terms of priority based on a number of factors. I'll just go over a few of those, but the most importantly is kind of ingress, egress alternatives. The time of the year is very important for us too, because fire severity hazard index is one of the elements that's key importance during the hot times of the year. And then stormwater assets. So if it's impacting like a culvert or a stormwater element, that's very important during the wet weather year. Another important is traffic volume. So the average daily traffic load is another important kind of the Socratic thinking there that the more impact to more folks is the more priority. So kind of looking at your communities and what has been kind of asked of Public Works, public road maintenance services is the largest three that I'm looking at over the last storm season is obviously slope slide failure and land movement, followed by tree requests and pavement requests, which is most likely potholes.
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but if you'd like to share your slide, do you want to try again? I reset your
Oh, perfect. Here we go. Okay.
Hooray!
All right. So we kind of ran through this data-driven strategy. Here's kind of like the makeup of the requests that we see coming into the system. And I'll get further into this, but there's an amazing way for you to get us data and get it into the system and to our crews the fastest, which is our Works app. I'll have a slide right at the end here to kind of for those that aren't aware of that. But yeah, like I said, here in the brown, that's the slope slide failures. 107 of those reported, tree issues, 72 in the black, and pavement repair issue concerns. So that's kind of like the makeup of the requests that are coming in from your community. Now I want to dive into kind of some of these alternative roads that we are doing our best to keep as active and open as possible. We had some major issues with lanes closed previously before the closure of Topanga Canyon, which was one of them was on Tuna Canyon. There was a lane lost there for quite some time while we were doing a major slope repair. That is complete, so very thankful for that. Saddle Peak Road, there was a slope failure that is complete at 21,683. Saddle Peak Road at mile marker 3.07, substantially complete. We're just waiting for the guardrail installation. This is being final and designed. Another slope failure at 21,011 Saddle Peak. We are just awaiting for a geotechnical evaluation. And then on to Fernwood. Fernwood had a similar issue. We had that, if you all notice, we put in a retaining wall out there at Fernwood at 1447. So that is back up and running, substantially complete. We're just waiting for a guardrail installation. So you'll see some water-filled K-rail out there just to protect the slope for now. And then I think this was mentioned in the chat, there is a sinkhole at 1137 Fernwood Pacific, and we have installed steel plates. You'll notice out there, they were inspected today by our crews. They said they're holding up well. It's safe to travel. We're just waiting for Topanga Canyon to reopen because that involves a much larger repair to the drainage network. So we don't want to impact that road until we can close lanes down, and that's not what we want to do right now. So we're kind of working in dealing with the issues as they come. But like I said, the best way you can get this information is by using the Works app. It's the fastest way to get your GIS data point in with your concern, and for us to get it out to our crews as fast as humanly possible. So that's kind of all I got. Sorry, I ran through that so quick, but I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions.
Wow, we like that conciseness, Lucas. That was fantastic. A+. Okay, Elisa, go ahead.
I have a question. You didn't mention the old Topanga. There's an area up near top of Topanga that's really quite a significant area where the concrete is broken away from the slope. It's sandbagged. Is that, I assume, also an area of targeted work?
Yeah, so that's one of our, right now we have, let's see, we have 23 emergency projects right now. So that's in the queue. And that's something, you know, we'll keep sharing with our board offices but it's challenging because, like I said, every time it rains that we have to re-triage the whole thing all over again. So I hate to make any promises on schedule, but we are hitting this with everything we got. We are increasing staffing by 25% in the next 3 months. We're also leveraging every contractor crew we possibly can, and also loaning crews from other maintenance districts outside of our areas. So
Thank you, Lucas. Can I just have you re-stress, because there are questions in the chat where people are feeling that, are you waiting on Fernwood and Tuna while the slide is happening? And I believe it's 2 entities doing 2 different things simultaneously. Can you just reiterate that for those who have questions about the slide occurring while the county roads? That happens at once, right? That's not a separation of work.
Sorry, you're talking about the slide at...
I think there's some people who are thinking, I think erroneously, that we have to get the TCB Boulevard repaired before the county roads are going to be repaired, but that's not what I understand. They're happening at the same time is the idea.
Correct. They're going in parallel. We both are managing our assets the best as possible with the resources we have and the finances we have, for sure.
All right. Quick thing. I want to make sure, Roger, you too, but Jaspreet, I just want to take a moment. First of all, Jaspreet Katrib is watching Tuna Canyon with an eagle eye, and she is on it. So I want to make sure she has an opportunity to ask any questions or call attention to any areas that are sensitive. I'd also like to say Jaspreet Katrib is producing this meeting and taking care of all the technical glitches on the fly. So she's amazing, and big round of applause for her.
Oh, please. Thank you. I really appreciate the shout out. Thank you, Carrie, and would like to say how appreciative I am of all of our reps joining us today and bearing with us with the restart of the meeting and everything else. We've had over 380 attendees tonight, so it's a fantastic turnout. I don't have any specific questions related to Tuna Canyon. You mentioned most of them, but if something comes up, I will get in touch with you. So thank you for everything.
Anybody reach out to Jaspreet. She's on it. Okay, Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, Lucas, first I would like to commend you, and I would like to commend your staff on a fine job that you guys are doing. I know the work is difficult. I know you've been overwhelmed, but my experience with your crews, especially on Old Topanga, has been nothing but exceptional. They've been great, and I wanted to give a shout out to that. And I want everybody to know how diligently you guys are working to keep Topanga safe and to keep Topanga moving the way it should. So we really appreciate what Public Works has done, and we appreciate what you've done. In reference to what Elisa was talking about on Old Topanga, as you know, I live on Old Topanga. I passed the area that Elisa was talking about. It's near the top of Old Topanga, going towards the valley. And I keep an eye on it as well. Every day I pass it, every day. And so far, so good. And if I notice any difference, I will let you know. You know that I will let you know immediately. So keep up the good work. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I would like to say, Lucas, for our part, your use of technology and the way you actually update it. You don't just have a website, you update it. You actually keep it up to date in real time with which roads are going to be closed, where the repairs are. Your Works app is fabulous. It's really easy for people to submit work orders both online and through the app. So I want to thank you for that, and be sure that along with the app, you put the website for people who are a little more old-fashioned to do it that way.
Can I throw out a few questions that are coming?
Yes, yes, please do.
So there's several people that are concerned about the sinkhole on Fernwood, and I know you've put metal plates over it. I have noticed they're a little askew, the metal plates, and there's some people that feel it might be expanding, and there's still an area eroding towards the house that's on one side. And I guess there was just a request for some additional information on the sinkhole. And another person raises several other kind of potholes and issues around some of the shops and different areas where the roads need some other repairs. Are those also to be flagged, I guess, only if they're county roads through the app? Potholes, that kind of road instability, if they're smaller?
Yeah, if you have small issues, you know, if
And
there's
then
a
can you
problem, by
speak to
all
that?
means.
Can you speak to
By
the
all-
sinkhole there?
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, by all means, please input anything that, you know, don't, there's nothing too small. We'll get to it. It's just going to be a prioritization mechanism. So put it in the app, put a GIS location on it, drop a pin on it. That's the perfect way to get to us. And in terms of Fernwood, we had our supervisor from 336 Malibu Yard out there today inspecting. He ensured that it was in good condition. We'll be out there every day that we're working to ensure that it stays in good condition until we have a more robust repair, but we don't want to impact the traffic on Tuna Canyon while we're very sensitive to the fact that it's such an important route right now during this time.
Excellent. All right, do we have another question or two?
Is it to Lucas if we wanted that green light longer down at where the turn is, or is that a CalTrans question? Many people are struggling to make that turn, even though that light is there, but maybe that's a CalTrans, not a.
There's nothing more confusing than 88 cities and an unincorporated area. So
I don't want to direct it to you if it's not your question.
No. It is a CalTrans road asset. So basically, it's the timing mechanism. I believe I forgot her name, but she spoke earlier about her team is out there right now assessing the issue. I think it was a cable issue with one of the timing issues, but they're working on it now. So yes, that is a CalTrans asset that they are working on.
And I just want to really encourage folks to use the Works app. I have to say, there was an oak tree down in the dark one night when it was raining on Old Topanga. I put it on your app. I could follow it in real time. You guys got some cones up and I could see it get repaired on the app in real time really quickly. So please, those of you in the chat that are referencing potholes or specific issues on all the county roads, please get on the app. I think that really helps those issues get onto the queue for Lucas and team. Thank you, guys.
I've never seen a county agency.
Carrie, I just need to say one thing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but I want to just say a little further something about what Elisa just said. I think that because of the volume of work that's being thrown at them, let us not forget that sometimes if we can deal with it ourselves, we should. If a tree goes down and there's somebody like Jimmy Wiley who can come in and chop it up and take it away, which he's done many times before. I'm sure it's appreciated by Lucas. So yes, they have to do the work, but we can also help by doing the work too.
Okay, excellent. Good point, Roger. But just final shout out. Seriously, I've never seen a county agency, any government agency anywhere use technology in the way that you do. I don't know if it's you, Lucas, who spearheaded that, but it's phenomenal. Really, it is. So you really need to be a shout out for that.
A team of 4,000. So I can't take all the credit.
Gary,
Thank you all so much. Appreciate you.
He's being modest. He did spearhead. but
I
he's-
I've heard his name a couple times now. Okay. All right. Very good. We know. We see you, Lucas. All right. Excellent. Sophia, is there anything more you wanted to add or any questions for Sophia? I want to thank Sophia as well. She has really been a dynamo. She has been working hand in hand with the supervisor to be on the ground, in touch with everybody in the community all the time, you know, taking it all in and trying to see what she can do, bring all the partners together. Has never heard the word, it's not in our jurisdiction. She doesn't care. She crosses jurisdictions, gets it done, helps us get to who we need to get to, and just is an incredible force. And I'm so grateful for her in this community. So thank you, Sophia.
Thank you, Carrie.
Christina Rocco's got something to say.
Okay, go ahead, Christina. Christina, you're muted.
You're muted.
Just a minute, guys.
Oh,
There you are.
perfect.
Am I unmuted? Can
You're
you guys
good.
hear me?
You're
Go,
good.
Christina.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, Sophia. I'm Christina Rocco-Levy, and I think some of the community members have been making phone calls to your office and just trying to figure out how to get the support you guys need. And somebody got through to Gavin Newsom's office, which I put in this chat earlier. And I just want to understand. So in order for there to be, my understanding is, in order for there to be federal dollars, the supervisor's office needs to contact Gavin Newsom's office and say, hey, we're in a state of emergency here in this part of our community. Am I being misinformed, or can you explain that a little?
Yeah, I would be happy to, because I heard that as well for the first time. I was like, that's news to me too. That would be great if we could snap our fingers and do that as well.
Right,
I'd be
right.
happy
I'm
to.
like, why aren't we asking for help?
Yeah, I would love that as well. So first of all, I think this has been brought up in the when CalTrans has talked to. This issue is not a funding issue. So just for the first part to be very clear, this road closure and getting the slide repair, it's not a funding issue.
No, I don't think so. I'm actually thinking about the local businesses here and how they could maybe get some government funds if it was a state of emergency and the supervisor's office asked for support from the mayor's office or from the governor's office. I just wanted to understand that, because all of us, being Topanga the way we are very concerned about our local businesses surviving.
Absolutely. And as are we as well. So the supervisor spoke, and I mentioned this before, the chair of the California State Commission, which his daughter actually goes to Pepperdine. So he's a local in this area and knows it very well, and brought this concern up directly to him, saying, whatever we can do, we need to make sure we're doing it and tackling all those different issues. There's nothing that's a direct, and I know Nancy probably will be speaking on this as well, about like federal dollars or state dollars that can be going towards that. There's no magic switch that we can turn on that we say, like, that's the procedure in order to get additional dollars over here for the state. The state's a separate entity, and the county's a separate entity as well. We've pushed this up to the top as well, to the state, to the governor's office, to our amazing state partners that are here on the call, to all the different state representatives. The supervisor directly herself has brought that forward. But I know we're going to be touching base also with the governor's office. I think next week we have with another community member, just to see if there's any other things that we're for some reason not aware of, that we've heard, that if we need to cross a T or dot an I or anything, we're happy to do so. But at this point, we've escalated it to the furthest point, and that's where we are. So I hope that answered your question, but I've heard that.
You did. I know there's a lot of people on the call that have been talking about this and thinking about this. So I just wanted to bring it up so that everybody could hear your answer, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I just wanted to just chime in a tiny bit. With the disaster, is there an active, I know you're reaching out to see what can be done, but has it been explicitly asked? Is there any reason why we couldn't ask for disaster declaration? And the reason I say that is because I think it might also potentially free up, depending on people's insurance plans, some business interruption funding if you have that kind of insurance provider and policy rider in your plan. So that would be another reason to get that declaration, that disaster declaration for the slide.
Gotcha. So I think I'm going to defer more to Nancy on this if they want to talk more about state reimbursement of funding, because I don't know quite, I'm not as educated on the reimbursement side of that. I know if we're talking like federal dollars that we want to try to get in here, that's a whole level of qualification. And I know I mean, we were trying to even meet that qualification on the side of the last storms, which were difficult for individuals to get that qualification. So
Yeah.
let alone this. For the state side of, I think Nancy will be, I don't want to, I think Nancy's going to be talking about this
Got it.
possibly about like reimbursements or like loans that could possibly be offered. If that doesn't get discussed, we can revisit it again, but I think that's going to be talked about in about 5 minutes.
Excellent.
Also, I just want to say Susan Nisman just said that the declaration has been made.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Getting
Thank
stuff
you.
done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. And thank you, Sophia. Okay, we are ready to move on to our state reports. So we've got on that front, we have Nancy Frawley from Assembly Member Irwin's office. And then we also have Sam Liu and or Davis Hahn from Senator Ben Allen's office. Do we, Justpreet, if you're able to make sure they're unmuted? Okay, great.
Yes, they're all unmuted and Davis is not here, but Sam is.
Excellent. All right. All right. So Nancy, did you want to start us off, or Sam, did you want to start us off?
Nancy, go for it.
Actually, it is not going to be Nancy. It is Araceli, who is your community rep, is going to give you some notes and an update. Sam, if you would like to go first, because you're the Senate office, go ahead, or Araceli, take it over. And if there's anything else I need to chime in, I will gladly do it.
Yep. I'll be super quick just because I know the time. I will make sure that our office is at the next town council meeting. We will make sure that CalTrans is there too, as we get more information about how we can get the landslide moving quicker. We don't have a ton of relevant updates from our office about this. We know we worked with Assemblymember Irwin's office to get the light at Tuna Canyon. We'll continue to work with all the different agencies that are impacted, but I don't need to go into it. You guys have been listening to this for the last few hours. We do have a water conservation webinar coming up on May 1st with Las Verdes Water District, if you guys are inclined. Otherwise, I will put my email in the chat. We have Rad Naruzzi from our office also on. We've been listening and watching the chat and are equally, anxious and trying to get more information to you guys. And if you have thoughts or creative solutions, please email them to us and we'll get them to the senator who we've been texting with tonight. He's still in Sacramento right now, but yeah, this is not a good situation. We understand the urgency. We understand the frustration. No one wants to hear fall. We certainly didn't know about that until today. And so I think once we get a chance to figure out, I guess, what other options are even on the table, we'll happily bring them back to you. And I think the town council has been great about just making sure we're doing everything we can to advocate for the community, and we still plan to until this is clear. So
thank you, Sam. No, that's terrific. So just a couple things while he's in Sacramento, just looking at things like financing for schools, any support for local small businesses, just various creative ways or budget lines you could tap for potentially unleashing some funds there to help people. In particular, the small businesses and the schools. We're looking at transportation issues, maybe some hybrid learning options that may become a moot point if it's done before the next school year, but still, even now, there might be some help that could be obtained if he could get some money. I mean, also, if we could loop in Nick Melvoin at the school level. I'll follow up with you after this meeting about a meeting with the parents and the schools, a follow-up meeting to see what they're seeing right now and what they're able to do and what they need from you. Okay?
Okay, and real quick, I know I want to echo what Susan said. The governor did make the declaration and the president did approve it. Now we're working with Brad Sherman's office to see which SBA loans could be made available to the local businesses. Right now, I think the process is to make them available to local governments and nonprofits. So,
and what about schools? Would schools be eligible as well?
Schools is, I took the note down to
yeah.
We can talk. If you reach out to Nick Melvoin's office, please loop us in. If you'd like us to, we can text him now. We can get a call going with his team about what we can do about the students and getting, creating some alternative, either.
You can go ahead and initiate that call and then loop us in, Sam. I think it will get faster.
Okay.
Sam, could you just clarify? A number of folks on the chat are just trying to get clarification. What declaration was made? What specifically does this mean for Topanga? And can you give us more data on where we might make the link between that declaration and our needs as a community?
I will put the press release in the chat again. From what I understand, the landslide itself has not been individually declared its own emergency, which is something that I think we have to fix through the legislative process. But the landslide any landslide that was caused by the February storm should be covered under the declaration, which is what I think this landslide is. So we will figure out how we can get access to that funding.
That's an excellent point, Sam, because that's what I'm particularly worried about. Like this particular landslide, in addition to the more overarching one, it's got to be this landslide because it's affecting, especially when it comes to like insurance. Correct. It has to be a roadway that like abuts your business or is directly impinges on your business. It can't be like a general, oh, it's a bad weather.
What I can do is Scott Abrams, who's Brad Sherman's district director. I don't think he's on the call, but we can get another call going or Zoom going with anyone from the Topanga area, and then we can then our partner.
Let us know, loop with that, and then we'll push it out to the community and make sure that they all can weigh in and attend and chime in and bring their insights and pain points and needs.
And Sam, would that potentially help some of the homeowners who have more significant slides, affecting their properties you can see certain people around the canyon that really have structural vulnerabilities. Would that potentially help with homeowners?
I don't want to. What I can do is we can get Cal OES or FEMA or the agencies that do oversee that type of reimbursement process for emergencies. We can get them on a Zoom or call to see if they can answer those questions directly.
Yeah, no, fair enough, Sam. And I will say, we pulled out FEMA. We went to them and said, come out here and assess. And last year, and nobody qualified, which was just heartbreaking to me and unbelievable, frankly. But
okay, I'm going to interrupt for a quick second. This is Nancy.
Yep.
I do want to say that after the emergency declaration was final, we did reach out to some of our state partners, and I sent an email, which you probably haven't seen yet, Carrie, about some of the information that we got back from OES and from other state departments. And there's some links on this kind of fact sheet, some links to reach out to see possible qualifications, especially for small businesses. Some homeowners, but homeowners is a really hard one to do because the central area of Topanga has not really qualified for enough damage. But Carrie will distribute that to all of you, and you're going to have to pick and choose and look at the links. And I went through them myself today, and I think there's some that could help with the small businesses.
Excellent. Yeah, no, the small businesses, it will be an easier get than the individual owners. You have to have like 40% of your home destroyed according to what they told us last year. So but there's good news potentially for businesses and our schools and other sort of supplemental funding for different agencies and institutions and businesses. Probably not as much as the individual, but let's look. We will push out the information you sent, Nancy, and make sure people can go through it and see what might be available to them. Elisa.
Carrie, I want to refer to Brody. He's had his hand up.
Yeah, Brody, go ahead. Brody, maybe unmute or just read, can double check. Yeah.
Thanks.
Brody,
you guys let me unmute. Thanks. So I asked this exact question when we saw the press release about the federal declaration. Like, okay, we can bring in the feds and we can get some work done. And the response I got was federal declarations only provide reimbursements for state expenses. They don't accelerate or change work.
Okay.
And if anybody, is that true, or it's sounding like there's a little more to it?
No, you might be right, but from what I've heard, the declaration is not what's holding up the speed of the process. So if you're worried about the speed of the timing, I don't think the declaration was holding that up. For me, the declaration seemed to be critical for getting resources to our small businesses, our schools, potentially individuals. That's why I saw the disaster declaration as being helpful.
All right,
Go ahead.
It sounded like they only reimburse state expenses. They don't really get any change going.
Well, we'll see. Nancy we'll send out the information tomorrow in a town council constant contact e-blast, and we'll see. I think it might be a little bit more than what you said. Probably not as much as we'd like, but a little more than what you've indicated. But we'll see. Let's look through the details tomorrow. Okay. All right. Excellent. Let's see. But thank you for bringing that up, Brody. Very good. Very good. All right, so Nancy and Araceli, we wanted to hear from Assemblywoman Irwin's office.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So Nancy did touch on, we were asked, our office was asked about possible grants that would be available for Topanga businesses. I know Nancy just touched on that. We did send over a document with some links. So if anyone is interested, you can go ahead and reach out to Carrie. We did provide all those links that everyone is free to research and see if they apply. And in regards to the slide, the Assemblywoman did very recently have a briefing privately with CalTrans. And she was the one who asked the geologist to come on tonight and share as much information as possible to get just as many answers as we could out there. I know it wasn't the ideal situation or the ideal answers that anyone wanted, but we have been in constant communication with CalTrans as well as our other wonderful state partners, and the safety of the community does continue to be the priority, and making sure that also the safety of the geologist is also a priority. And yeah, in regards to that, there's not really too much more to say. If anyone has any specific questions, I'm happy to hear them. But other than that, that is the update for today.
Thank you so much. You guys have really, really brought a lot of hope to me personally, and I'm thinking to the community as well. I'm sure they'll still have questions, but thank you, our state partner, Senator Allen, and Assemblywoman Irwin's office, Nancy, Araceli, Sam. You guys are terrific. I really appreciate your coming. All right, Elisa, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to share this. It's probably more of a sheriff police issue, but I've got a parent that their 16-year-old was nearly head-on hit on Las Flores today, coming home from school, attempting to make that drive. This is a 17-year-old driver trying to attend Pali. And I don't exactly know the solution to this concern, but every day we have hundreds, thousands, I don't know, hundreds certainly of teen drivers attempting to drive Tuna down and Flores up. And I'm wondering whether that could be something that there would be funding to have more supervision, more officers. I'm not sure the solution, but it's kind of a near-death situation here for somebody that's in our parent community and their child. And I'm just raising that issue to kind of our elected officials and also to our law enforcement. And can we be thinking about solutions on the ground now for our teen and younger drivers, particularly? Sorry if it's a little off topic. I just didn't want to not share that. Carrie, would that be something to bring up with CHP law enforcement? I
Yeah,
guess.
let's follow up with that. Yeah, after that. But I want to make sure. So we're at 8:28 right now. I want to make sure that we've got at least 25 minutes to 30 minutes for residents to ask any final questions. We promised them that. I want them to have that time. And I see Roger. And Roger, we're going to have you first, but then I want to make sure people who haven't had a chance to speak have a chance to speak. So Roger, go ahead. Start us off.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry, hold on a second.
All right, hold on. I'm going to start with Stacey while you're dealing with that. All right, so Stacey has a question. Okay. Oh shoot. All right, so let me move out of the way. Yeah. Okay, Stacey wants to ask a question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for reaching out to the town council with all your questions and your comments. And just want to let you know that, our organization, the Topanga Town Council, has been around for about 47 years, being of service to this community. And we are all volunteers. And when we have incidents like this, it really taxes the town council quite a bit to get things completed, done, addressed. But I want to say that I thought we've done a fairly good job of being able to bring all these resources to you so that you could ask your questions and comments. And if we haven't been able to get to it tonight, your comments that have been emailed to us, the phone calls that you've sent, you've given to us, and the chats, we will consolidate them and find a way to get those answers and back out to you, to the community. With that said, obviously, there are glitches that happen, and I'm very proud that we were able to handle that glitch in the opening part of the meeting so quickly. But we could use some more volunteers, as other organizations, nonprofit organizations can in the community. I want to give a shout out to TCEP, especially for being able to stay on top of getting the information to you in a timely fashion. The one question that I have would be, what I would like to see is, this is not the first time this has happened in our community. We've had Topanga Canyon Boulevard shut down many, many times for various reasons. And many of the same issues come into play: traffic management, signage, languaging, so that people understand, about our town being open so that it can help our businesses. We have school issues always. So what I would like to see happen is an after action report that could get started almost immediately, but that could devise a Topanga playbook so that we can more quickly implement some of these things that need to happen when our town gets shut down. And the PCH tuna signal is one of them. It's taken 5 weeks to get that going, and I realized that everybody was really trying hard to get that to happen, but I would like to see something like that be a part of a bigger playbook, so that when our boulevard shuts down and we immediately have those traffic issues on Fernwood and Tuna, and other areas, that we can implement these things more quickly, that the county and the state can implement solutions faster. I think the signal is a prime example. I would like to see the possibilities. Could a permanent signal be put in there, even if only operated on a temporary basis during a crisis? Because this affects us not only with landslides and such, it also affects us when we have other road closures and fire issues. So that's my big thing, is to say that I really feel that we should develop, or that the county and the state together with Topanga, develop a Topanga playbook that we can say, when certain things happen, we could expedite these solutions almost immediately. And that's my goal. I've been doing this for 24 years in the community on the town council, and I've just seen this happen many times. And I really think that there's an opportunity there. I would hate for us to miss it. So thank you very much. And again, if anyone wants to volunteer for the town council or any of our other nonprofit organizations that help during these crises, we would really appreciate your help. So thank you. And thank you, Carrie, for letting me step in. I'll give you back, Carol.
Stacy, well said. Well
Yes. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. Actually, so with that appeal for volunteers, email us at contact@topangatown.council.org. Please don't hold back. Excellent. Okay, Roger. Oh, wait, James and Roger. Roger, did you want to ask your question and then we can go to James?
All I wanted
What's
to
the
do was
email again? Carrie, give me the email. There are a few interested people.
Oh, sorry. Contact@topangatown.council.org.
Thank you.
I wanted to mention to Araceli that when a traffic light goes out in the valley, all of a sudden we see these traffic monitor people. I don't know who they are. I know that they say traffic control on their back. There's no reason why we couldn't get something like that set up for Tuna Canyon as well.
Sounds good to me. I mean, they need the qualifications, but I like the idea. Let's try to push it forward. James, go ahead.
So if I could just quickly piggyback on what Stacy said, and I see Lauren Wonder is still here, but CalTrans, we had a plan that the roadside, I direct messaged you this, but we had a traffic plan in place for the changeable message signs when Topanga Canyon Boulevard gets closed, and it was for emergency purposes, and we had a variety of different places where those signs would go up. They were portable CMSs on trailers. And then we also had part of that plan, and all the wordage was approved by Sacramento, as well as the CMS on the 101 freeway and the 405. And I've submitted that plan. I have it in writing several times, and we've utilized it in the past. And it was a product of the roadside committee. a number of years ago, and I'm working with law enforcement and fire on evacuation plans, and that component, we're still trying to piece that in. And I've not heard from anybody at CalTrans about that existing plan. I want to make sure it's still on the books, and we're trying to figure out what it takes to implement it. So I left my email, which is very simple, James@TCEP. I'm just trying to find somebody at CalTrans that I can follow up with and find out what the status of that plan is. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, James. Okay, great. All right, Elisa, what questions are we seeing in the chat?
Some interest in volunteering. I love you guys. I think there's still a backlog of a number of detailed questions more pertaining to the earlier part of the meeting, but I think we've addressed a lot of the pertinent things. Have I missed anybody whose hand is up? I'm not.
Are there any outstanding questions or people who feel like something hasn't been addressed or they'd like more clarity on? Feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat.
You and your partner had your hand up. Did you still have your hand up? No? Okay. All right, please
If
raise.
I could just say, I saw Lauren pop on the screen briefly. I think she maybe was going to respond to my question.
Great. Lauren.
Hi, Lauren. I saw you there for a second.
Yeah, I was just saying, I got your message, James.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And I will take it back to our traffic operations folks and our emergency folks and see what's going on with your request.
Excellent. Thank you. If you need a copy of the plan, let me know and I can forward it to you. It's a one-sheet PDF with everything on it.
Yeah, go ahead and send it to me. You've got my email.
Thank you.
And
Thanks,
I
James.
see a few hands up. One more thing, Lauren, I sent this to you by direct message, but several people had asked about lengthening the light, the green light at Tuna, and help with kind of troubleshooting that light at Tuna. I'm sorry, I'm sure you've seen 100 times in the chat. I just want to really flag that we appreciate you staying on to the bitter end. And if you could help us address that, that would be.
Yeah, I literally just texted the engineer and asked the contractor to look at that.
You're an angel. Now I see Amanda and Lauren both have hands up.
Excellent. Yeah, let's go. Amanda Michaels.
Yes, thank you, Lauren, for staying on, by the way, from CalTrans. I appreciate that. Who is responsible? Which agency is responsible for the slides on PCH? Those of us who have kids, outside of Topanga are really spending many hours on the road. And obviously those slides are making an impact. So clearing them would make a huge difference for us.
Yeah, the slides emanate usually from other properties. We're responsible for keeping the roads clear. So as we discussed about the 27 slide, sometimes they can't be cleared because there is a danger when you take out the toe that the head comes down. So we're trying to protect the lanes. You saw at Big Rock, we actually shifted the lanes over so that we could still have 2 lanes on northbound PCH, but we're blocking where that material is coming down. Porta Marina, as someone put into the chat, has been around for gazillion years. And that's something that is a on private property. And the state can't go in and clear that. It has to be a coordinated response with that private developer, with the city, the county. I want to say the city or county purchased that. So it's always a coordinated response when there are slides. We're very aware of it. We're trying to take care of it as best we can. But sometimes when you take the foot out, it brings more material down.
Okay, but somebody is coordinating with that private developer regarding the Porta Marina slide.
Correct.
Okay, and then my second question is, I see a couple of really risky turns on Tuna Canyon. And I myself have led a couple of drivers out who were really scared. One was a tourist and the other was a delivery driver. And then of course I've seen reckless driving like everybody else. Is that Lucas who would be, like Lucas from Public Works, who would be responsible for maybe looking at those particularly risky curves on Tuna and perhaps putting in some guardrails or something like that? Okay.
Amanda, I'd be happy to relay those concerns. If you could either drop them in the app as a location or to send them to me, I can drop my email in the chat as well to our traffic safety mobility folks to assess the potential for guardrail elements.
Okay, there's no service obviously where they are, but I'll take a mile marker from Saddle Peak or something tomorrow when I go down.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you so much. Thank you both so much. I appreciate you having a nuanced understanding of our community. That was pretty shocking earlier when it didn't feel like that was the case, but this is heartening. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see Lauren Freeman. Would you like to?
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. It feels really good to know that everyone is on it and taken care of. We are also a family who's commuting daily to Los Angeles, an hour and 2 hours plus back to take our son to a private school. So we're getting no help from the school or anything like that because it's not one of the known schools. And I joined late because we were putting our kids to bed. I'm wondering what short-term solutions are being looked at for the slide. I don't know who answers that.
We should address that.
Guessing it's the person at CalTrans.
Kind of.
Yeah, that would be a Lauren Wonder, but from the gist of it, from what I understood, and I can't answer technically at all, is that there's not a way for them to get in and fix the short term without potentially provoking a bigger problem. So it seems like it's kind of, they have to go in and fix it all at once. I would love a short term as well, but it seemed like it's something they tried and have ruled out as being more problematic than helpful. But go ahead, Elisa.
Lauren,
Oh, and Roger, I know you want to speak as well. Can I say something to Lauren first, and then I'll let you go?
Yes,
So
lady,
Lauren,
yes.
This is not about the roads, Lauren, but we've been really working hard to advocate for the kids at Pally and at Paul Revere. And so if you want to separately reach out to the town council, we have a kind of a playbook on approaching your principal, getting help with absences or tardies or ancillary academic help, and maybe carpool support. So please feel free to reach out to the town council, and maybe we can share some of what we've done with our public schools that might support your family in the short term, if you'd like.
Thanks. Yeah, he's in elementary, so that stuff isn't too bad.
Okay, and Roger, thank you.
So Lauren, what was discussed earlier in reference to the slide is the county has jumped into this big time now. Maria Chan Castillo has committed herself to working with CalTrans really closely on this. So that's a big deal. I've known Maria for many, many years, dealt with her and worked with her on many issues. And now that she's fully engaged and involved, as she has been already, but now that she's made that commitment, things are going to happen a lot quicker than we think. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Roger.
And if Wonder wants to come back in or is available, then she can also chime in and add the CalTrans piece.
Okay, we have a few other questions. And then in the chat, Pamina Gorbach is thinking outside the box and says, apparently years ago, there was a bus and parking lot at the bottom of a slide, and there was a shuttle that allowed people to pass through the slide area. Could something like this be discussed? Could we leave cars at the bottom? I know there are parents at Pally that are thinking about having an e-bike system to help our kids navigate over to Pally High. I don't know. Are there any of those out of the box solutions? I don't know that that'd be practical in this circumstance. Maybe that's a CalTrans question.
They seem to think that if you move anything at the bottom, the whole thing comes like
too dangerous, I guess, for
exactly. And I don't know, I had talked to Nina earlier and I didn't hear her say it tonight. Maybe I missed it. Apparently there is a very, very large boulder, like the size of a car, that is, and I can't remember the weight, that is being pressed by dirt behind, and it's already moved 10 feet. And that very well may come down. And we don't want to risk anybody, children, adults, pets, contract workers, anybody who's on that road. So trying to put a school bus, having a shuttle, having e-bikes, just not a safe prospect at this point.
Do we want to have Heather or Kathleen that have their hands up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Kathleen, you want to go first, and then Heather can go next?
Thank you. I pulled off the road so I could raise my hand. A couple things that I put in the chat that I didn't feel were responded to as much as I hoped. First of all, the whole idea of federal FEMA money coming into the canyon. I know in '93, we did get FEMA money. Certainly this is almost as bad, if not worse, because of the impact of the businesses, not being able to get clients coming up from the valley or wherever, or from the UCH. So, and also with people's homes and slides that are impacting people's homes and drainage. I just feel like we need to push more for what that money is. And I would Susan Nisman, if you're still on, I know you know a lot about that. So maybe, Susan could talk about that, because I know a whole bunch of us applied and got small business loans, even though we weren't businesses. There was money available. So I don't quite get why that's so hard in this day and age. Second, that's I'm just, I really want community outside of Topanga to be able to come up here, but it's looking more and more dire with fire, imminent, danger. And so that too, helping the businesses get money without pulling a huge amount of people up here. I was disappointed to hear Horvath's office say, we're gonna do a blast to get more people up here, when if there is fire danger and something happens and we need to get people out, that just makes it worse. It could even be Topanga days. It could be 4th of July. I think our community needs to push to support the businesses, but also to look at mitigating some of this traffic in huge amounts, like do the highway, what is it, the restaurant, the 27 Cafe and the place below. Do they have plans for evacuating all those people that come up here most weekends, and are just the whole area of the road there is covered with cars. So anyway, I would love to hear, maybe it can't be tonight, but love to hear some responses about that. Thank you.
Great points, Kathleen. I think part of the shopping is, is a sort of a shop local campaign, but it probably would potentially bring in some outside patrons as well. So I hear your point. Let's hope that by the time the promo comes out, that it's timed with the reopening of the road so that it's less dangerous from a fire perspective. But yeah, some of your questions will be answered or will have to be answered tomorrow. The FEMA funding, I hear you. I'm with you. I think that over the years, I think the glory days or the heyday of FEMA funding for individuals, it's gotten tighter and tighter and tighter and harder and harder and harder at the individual level. Again, last year we had FEMA come out and evaluate homes. Keep in mind, last year there was a disaster declaration here. We all could turn in our taxes late. We were supposedly eligible. However, when FEMA came out and investigated people's homes, they basically said, if 40% of your home is not destroyed, you're probably not going to get any money at the individual level. Different story for businesses. Maybe they've changed their rules between last year and this year, but just letting you know that between 93 and now, things have changed at the individual level for FEMA requirements. But good points. I think some may be available. We're going to push out the information that Nancy collected for us and all the FEMA programs, and hopefully we apply for and qualify for a large number of those programs. We'll see. All right, next person.
I've been unmuted. Did you guys want me to?
Susan, did you want to come? Did you have any insight you wanted to add on FEMA and declarations and support?
Simple way that it works is the county declares, the local entity declares the declaration, and the fires, we've had the declarations with the city of Malibu, for instance, that then goes to the county makes it, then that goes to the state makes it, and the president then signs the federal declaration, which was done about 2 weeks ago. You are correct in that things have evolved differently in terms of how much is covered. In 1984, I got an SBA loan for $55,000, which essentially at a very low interest became a second mortgage to put in a big retaining wall because the slope above me was falling down. It did not damage my house, knocked out a carport. I don't know if those kinds of things are still available. In moving forward through disasters, when I was working with the county, we did have monies that were available for grant monies that were available. The last big storm that we had out here that affected us, that was a declaration, was in 1998 in Topanga. And in my case, the bridge that leads over the creek was knocked out. We got a FEMA loan, the 4 neighbors on each side here, of $10,000 each. And that was applied to putting back in the bridge. Now, what we got, which made it work, I believe, the incentive for us to qualify, was that the fire department said that they were notifying us that they were not going to be able to respond to any emergencies on those properties because of the situation of the bridge. And so they were going to basically be signing off on any liability and responding, whether it was to a heart attack or whatever. So with that notice from the fire department, the access issue, the emergency access for vehicles in 1998 was accepted, and we were able to get a FEMA grant, which you don't have to pay back. Dick Sherman rebuilt our bridge, and everything's been fine since then. The SBA loans are a different thing, and that was, as I said, becomes a low interest loan that you do pay back in some form or another. And that would be applied to the small businesses. During the pandemic, of course, we're all aware that there were SBA loans to small businesses. There were PPP things, there were thises and that's. Not having my own little business, at least not in a physical sense. I'm not sure exactly how that worked, or if that was an extraordinary situation, the pandemic, and how that was affecting people. But that was also a similar, that was a situation where there were some monies that were going out that did not have to be paid back. So again, there's been, after 9/11, the departments became, we developed the feds developed the Homeland Security, whatever it's called, and that department, which is now your cabinet head, FEMA used to have its own person sitting on the cabinet, right? And then all of those emergency things became under Homeland Security. That includes FEMA. So I am not really sure. As I said, 1998. We got money from FEMA as a grant to rebuild our bridge, had to do with access. My idea would be that as you work with doing this application process and going on, the county, the OES, Office of Emergency Services from the state, and FEMA did set up a location. Both times were in Malibu. I think those might have been fires, maybe the 2005 floods as well. As you know, your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover flood damage or landslides or any of that unless it does come into your house, the water. But otherwise, you're on your own. So they set up offices where you could go down in Malibu, where you could go and talk to all these different representatives and get your applications and fill them out. So that's probably a suggestion that we could also ask of the county to coordinate. That would be the Office of Emergency Management through our supervisor's office, and then also coordinating with our state people, the supervisor's office, and the OES and FEMA in terms of setting up that service for people that are, wanting to put in applications. The thing that I was thinking about is that in my situation and my neighbors here who were going to be denied emergency response access or emergency response, that if you have a situation where your access is you can't get to your property and emergency vehicles can't get to your property because of big boulders in the road, because of this or that, and I think that getting the fire department out there, maybe getting, somebody from Public Works, but I'm thinking it's more emergency access issues. That's what we got, is to evaluate what your situation is. And then you can take that and if you have a clear situation where you are going to be denied access, ingress, egress from emergency vehicles, then you have a situation that, for me, in my mind, would qualify for some sort of assistance to remedy that. That's all I know at this point.
Wow, that was an incredible historical perspective and some good action. I like your idea about the county potentially helping and OES with the applications for people who want to do it.
Each one of those, the federal office, FEMA,
Yep.
the state OES, Office of Emergency Services, and the county Office of Emergency Management.
Who took the lead on it, Susan? Do you remember? Was it the county? Like one of them would have probably sort of been the point person for that.
The lead was taken in coordination with your supervisor's offices, working directly with the Office of Emergency Management in terms of them at the county level, the Office of Emergency Management at the county level is really the overseer of all of the 88 cities and the county unincorporated area. And that's who we work, and that's who we work with on the temp. So I would just continue to work with, like, Maria is very well aware of those things. I worked with her for 20 years. So she's very well aware of those possibilities.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we've got 4 minutes. I want to make sure that we get these 2 questions, Heather and Len.
And then maybe I can throw back on the group chat, which is a little bit aside to some of these.
Yeah, but we do want to wind it down because people have just already spent so much of their night.
So I know Heather and Len have been
Heather.
waiting.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Topanga Town Council. I really appreciate the meeting and you guys staying late for this. Roger, thank you very much for your comments earlier and for stressing the urgency of the matter. I was totally shocked at the unprofessionalism of Mr. Medina's response. But if anyone from CalTrans is on here still, what I would like to know is where we stand at this moment in concrete terms. Has a plan been submitted? Have permits been received? And maybe I missed the answers to these questions, but has this process even started? Because what I heard from CalTrans earlier was not that it would be open by fall. It was that they were hoping it would be open by fall. To me, it sounded like it might go a lot longer than that. So I would like to know, and maybe the question can be answered later if nobody can answer it right now, but I would like some concrete answers to where we stand right now and the timeline for what will be done in terms of permitting and those issues from here on out. Is anyone from CalTrans on here still?
Hello, Heather. It's Lauren Wonder again. Nina did say that they have already started working with state parks because this is part of their.
What does that? Sorry to interrupt, but what does that mean? They've started working with state parks. I'm looking for concrete answers to these questions. Has a plan been submitted yet for permitting?
Let me finish. Please let me finish. We have started talking to state parks. That is part of the permit process. Have we submitted one? No. We have to figure out what the earth is doing up there. But that's part of the process. So in concrete terms, yes, we are starting the discussions. We will be working on whatever permits, whatever agreements we need to work through. And once that earth stops sliding, Nina, I don't know if you were on at that time. Nina was showing the whole time, yeah, where they were. We can get a better sense of that approach. I have to be honest, I don't know all of the regulatory permitting that is required, but I know that she has been very active. She actually flew down here from Sacramento today just to go out to the slides so she could assess this. So yes, we are working on this very proactively. We're doing the best we can so that we can get this road open. We know that this is very urgent for the community. Completely understand that. She was hoping fall. That was just, people are wanting a timeline based on their estimates, their calculations. That is what we can target for now. Let's hope that we can do it quicker.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren and Heather. And Lauren, just, I will follow up with Nina tomorrow, but I want you to know the town council and the community really appreciates Nina's coming and really just so working, sort of communicating hand in hand with the community. I thought she did a tremendous job. And I really feel like she was willing to take questions in a way that maybe others wouldn't have. And I thought she did an excellent job, and I deeply appreciate it. I know it's a tough position to be in, and I think she deserves to be applauded for that. All right, Len.
Hey, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for putting this together. Number one, this is Mother Earth expressing herself, and we're fighting nature on this. And to think that we're going to have an easy, quick fix, I think is hallucinating. But more importantly, what is our path forward as far as information flow? Can we have more of these town council meetings, not once a month, but maybe once a week? I know it's a lot of work on everybody's part. I know you're all volunteers, but I think getting information and keeping people informed is going to be the best way to keep everybody's temperature down. And otherwise, we will see people out there with shovels. And that's scary from my standpoint. So thank you again. I take Tuna Canyon to Santa Monica every morning. The red light really does help. And we just have to be patient with folks, people. This is not something that someone can snap their fingers and fix. So thank you for.
Thank you, Len. And I just want to say
Yeah.
that's such a great point, I think, and we made that earlier that Len is making again, and I just relate this back to you because you're still in the meeting. We'd really love more detailed information from CalTrans more often, you know, and it really has been quite vague information and somewhat infrequently. Carrie?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that they've done a good job. They've set up an email. So make sure, Lauren, if you could to put that in the chat, or it's already been put in the chat if you want to scroll up, Len. But there is like a press release, TSEP pushes it out that CalTrans will issue every few days with whatever news they have. There's an email that you can contact if you have questions, and they will get back to you relatively quickly. So they have done things to try to give more information to the community, but yeah, like you, we'd love to have as much information as possible all the time. In terms of the town council's ability, once a month is all we can handle. You want to join and a whole bunch of other people join, maybe we can talk about doing it more often. But right now, our bandwidth, this is all we can do. But CalTrans does have multiple means of getting more frequent updates. But yeah, your point is appreciated. We get it. We agree.
And I'm the homeowners association president up at View Ridge. So I get, you know, the needs of volunteers. So again, thank you for everything that you're doing, Carrie, and the rest of the town council. We deeply appreciate your work.
Thank you, Len. And I love your icon. Very good. Very, very nice. Looks like an album cover.
It's LAFC.
Aha. Gotcha.
The soccer club.
Aha. Got it. All right. Well, I think we're good. We're 9:02. So unless there's any final pressing question, I think it's time to call it a night and say congratulations to everybody. Oh my God, who made it through, everybody who came, everybody who cares, everybody who asked questions and really stuck it out.
Recordings will be available.
Harry, I'd like to just say one thing about this meeting. I thought that you did an excellent job on this meeting, and I think it was definitely needed. I think that Maria Chan-Castillo is now definitely 100% in the mix. So the supervisor's office is definitely there. And I think that we will see, I'm sure that we're going to see movement that we haven't seen before. So be patient, everybody.
Not from the landslide, but from the agencies. Okay, good. All right, terrific. Well, then I just wanted you to know the recording will be posted to One Topanga over the next couple of days. All your questions will be pushed out to the agencies, and we'll be following up next month with more information. And
Second Wednesday of the month.
Yes. Actually, it's going to be the third Wednesday. It's going to be the 15th in May. But okay, we'll push it out. Thank you, everyone. We think you're the best. You inspire us to do this. We couldn't do it without you. Keep on coming. Thanks so much. Bye.
Night.
Well done, Town Council.
Everybody.
Thank you.